Yes, here we go. And a very good morning to you, Grenada. I'm George Grant saying welcome to this edition of Sundays with George Grant. Today happens to be the 15th day of September 2K19. Just waiting to see who's going to be first this morning as they scamper. Well, here they go. Anthea wins again. Yeah, Anthea, you take no advice, girl. You're on a roll. You're on a roll. Congratulations and thank you for joining us. She's wishing everybody a happy Sunday, and Peter Bishop's also there. Peter Bishop saying good morning to you guys. He's kind of quiet because he's getting his tail whooped these days, eh? Well, you win some, Pedro, you lose some. But boy, it's always such a pleasure to see you. Catherine Edwards is saying, good morning, all. Please join me in wishing our beloved producer and presenter of SWGG a very happy birthday. Well, thank you very much, Catherine. We don't see you that often on this particular program, although I do know that you sneak in there from time to time. And usually Catherine's on Mech We Chat, man, every Thursday evening. Well, actually, when she comes on, it's actually Friday morning in England because I think they're, what, 4 or 5 hours ahead of us. Catherine, good to see you and thank you very much. Margaret Francis says, Ade. Margaret is joining in. Thank you very much, Mags. Good to see you as well this morning. Arthur Langine says, good morning, Brother George, and looking forward to a wonderful show this morning. We try every Sunday to give you a wonderful show, Arthur. And Samantha McFarland is saying good morning. And yeah, happy or blessed Sunday to all, says Samantha. Good to see you folks. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to be here for the next 3 hours or so. And boy, it's going to be an interesting morning because something we really don't have this morning, and I got to be honest with you right off the bat, we don't have any interviews per se, but we do have one heck of a feature. I know it's something you folks have been looking forward to for a long time. Well, your patience has paid off because it's coming your way this morning, and we'll tell you what it is in just a wee bit. But first, take a look at the rundown. Yes, sirree, this morning we do have three pieces for you under, quote, editorial content, per se. As always, we do have the Grenada Advocate, which is what we will begin with. And their editorial, which was published on Wednesday, is captioned, International Community Needs New Approach Towards Vulnerable Islands. Interesting little article. And then, as always, they will be followed by the new today. Oh yeah, another issue. And the new today is captioned RGPF, that's the Royal Grenada Police Force, found wanting. Dun, dun, dun. 3 exclamation marks. Again, you're going to have to wait just a few minutes to find out what that one is all about. Then, it's not an editorial per se. You can call it an opinion piece, if you will. It's something that was sent to me by the former president of the Willie Redhead Foundation. Good friend of this program, gentleman by the name of Norris Mitchell. Well, he's written this piece under his own name. It's a little piece which is captioned State of Affairs, and he is actually referring to the governance of Grenada. Let me tell you something. You got to listen to that one carefully, because that man touches on a number of issues which are very prominent in the minds of just about every Grenadian right now. So you can call that our third editorial if you wish, but it's not an editorial per se. Anyhow, State of Affairs by Norris Mitchell. All right? Now, after the editorials, then we get into our main feature, which is actually going to take up about half, more than half, about 2/3 of today's program. This country, during the week, this past week, has been abuzz with talk about an incident which happened immediately following this past week's post-cabinet briefing down at the Botanical Gardens, in which it is alleged that a certain minister of government assaulted a member of the press corps. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. And I think one of the reasons why it has garnered so much steam is because of another incident which happened a couple of weeks before, again, coming out of the post-cabinet briefing, where the members of the media had been issued a lecture about respect. Well, this past week, you know that on weekdays, Monday through Friday, we do a program called Good Day, Grenada. And on Thursdays and Fridays, we have a couple of very, very interesting gentlemen appearing there. Throughout the week, we have interesting people. But on Thursdays, we have Alan Baczynski, who's very vocal, speaks his mind. And we also have Brian Pitt on Thursday, who's also very vocal and somebody who's very concerned about what he sees happening here in this country right now. Okay? On those 2 days, we discussed this incident, among other things, but I'm just going to play you the part where we talked about the parts where we talked about this particular issue. And I have captioned this morning's feature, Grenada's Media Freedom Headed Towards Extinction. Yeah, that's a mouthful, but stop and think about it. Because this morning you're going to hear some stories that are going to make you go, say what? Yeah, join us. And we expect to get started with that about 10:30 or so this morning, another hour, 20 minutes or so from now. So one, I'm going to play you the piece from Brian Pitt, yeah, Brian Pitt, where Brian takes on the alleged abuse of this journalist. We're going to play you Thursday's excerpt, where Alan Baczynski identifies, get this, he identifies a new mongoose. Yeah. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. If you heard it on Thursday, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you're just going to have to sit quietly and wait. And then after we play those two pieces, my dear friend, you will get to hear from the horse's mouth CALISTRA FARRIER, who is or was the victim of this week's alleged abuse. CALISTRA is not going to be coming in here. She's not going to be sitting next to me, but she's going to be joining us remotely as we do with a lot of our guests. Yeah. I have to tell you that we're also going to be joined by Beverley Sinclair, who will also be joining us electronically because Beverley is out in Jamaica. She's not going to be here, but she's going to be joining us by Zoom. And I should also mention, as a disclaimer, I did contact several times during the week. I attempted to contact the president of the Grenada Media Workers Association, or the Media Workers Association of Grenada, MWAG. Just not answering my phone. She's just not answering my calls. Not. Up to yesterday. 3 times yesterday. Not answering. But I did contact the public relations officer, a young man by the name of Delroy Louison. He answered my call. And I reminded him that I had invited him to appear on the program last Sunday to tell us about that statement which MWAG had issued pertaining to the lecture which was delivered to the press corps by the Prime Minister's press secretary. That statement from MWAG was signed by Delroy Louison, who normally happens to be the public relations officer for MWAG, but apparently the president was off island. So he actually signed it as acting president. When I invited him to appear, he said, okay, he'll talk it over with his executive and get back to me, and I never heard from him again until I contacted him a couple of days ago. So, let's forget about the statement. And by the way, in that statement, they had given an ultimatum to the press secretary to retract what she had said at that post-cabinet briefing, or else. Well, she never did retract it. Actually, she never even acknowledged receipt of that request from MWAG. And that's something that got this whole country buzzing as well. Okay? So when I spoke to the gentleman this week, I said to him, look, let's forget about that. We had another incident happen this past week, and I would like you to appear on the program this Sunday. That's today. And he said to me, well, you know, we're still discussing this, and a statement is going to be issued shortly. So I said, okay, shortly, meaning when? He said to me, soon. I mean, soon could be Christmas, eh? And in light of the fact that it took about 2 weeks before they issued a statement pertaining to the PM's press secretary's comments, God alone knows how long it would take. And then he said to me, you know what, I think you better call the president, because she's back now. And that when that original statement was issued, it was issued by him as acting president. So I said, okay, I'm going to call the president. And as I mentioned, as recently as yesterday, 3 phone calls. Phone calls not being answered. All right? I say all of that to let you know that we did make an effort. I also thought, I understand that Ms. Farrier is going to be taking this matter to court. It's not yet in the court system, but it has been reported to the police, and apparently the wheels are in motion. So I thought, you know, let me get let me get a lawyer. I tried 4 lawyers, 4. And unfortunately, not one was able to appear this morning. One person is dealing with some personal issues. Another one is in Antigua. Another one did not return my phone call. Another one happens to be in France at the moment. So I thought, okay, let me go ahead and get these folks to come on in. I was very surprised because I'd been trying to reach CALISTRA FARRIER for a few days, and she too was not answering her phone, but she did answer yesterday and agreed to come in, to talk with us this morning via Zoom. Okay? And I called Beverley, and Beverley always willing to voice an opinion because she too is a freelance journalist, just like CALISTRA. And so these two ladies are going to be chatting with us. I also extended an invitation to Jerry George, who's also a freelance journalist. He may or may not be joining us. The invitation has been sent to him. He explained to me that today he's in Miami, and I'm sure he would love to put his 2 cents in. But whenever he's in Miami, he's usually pretty darn busy. So he did not let me know yesterday whether or not he would be appearing, but I sent the invitation anyway, so don't be too surprised if you see Jerry George show up this morning. Okay, so there you have it. That's essentially your rundown for this morning, the 15th day of September. Let me get back here to Junior, Let me get back here to social media. Ooh, boy, you guys are hot to trot this morning, aren't you? Kathleen Thomas is saying good morning. Judy Benoit, happy birthday, George. Blessings for the next 60 years, woman. I'm now 68 as of today. You want me to live 60 more years? Don't you think I've gone through enough in the last 68 years? Okay, thanks anyway. If he says 60 years, if he says 120 years, I'll take it. Because I know that he's with me. Now, Bernard Gilbert saying good morning. Sharon, hello Sharon. Happy birthday, Gigi. Wishing you all God's blessings. Hey Sharon, yeah boy, what a wonderful day we had yesterday. You know, because we got so much going on this morning, I'm not going to show the video that we shot yesterday down on the beach, but I'm going to try and get that on tomorrow morning. All right? Yeah, that was fun. That was really fun. You should see grapes, people. Grapes. Bags of grapes. Fitzroy Adams is saying, thank God it's Sunday. Anthea is saying, wishing you many more, George. Happy birthday. Thank you, Anthea. Jackie O. Hello, Jackie O. Saying good morning. Kipling Francis, sending God's blessings on this lovely Sunday morning and inviting you guys to share. So please share. Chester Simon is watching with you. It says greetings to all. And our good friend Deborah Parker Stratus Robinson. Good morning, George, and a big happy birthday to you. Hope you have the best day ever. Good. It's going to be one heck of a day because I tell you, when I get through here at about noon today, that's what I hope to do. Get some rest. Get some rest. Chester saying happy birthday, wishing you many, many more blessings. Thank you, Chester. Blessings to you, too. Oswin Lewis is saying good morning. Arthur Langine says, may I join the others by wishing Brother George a happy birthday? Well, thank you very much. Boy, you guys are really, really generous this morning. Huh? Sonia McKee John says, morning, George, my Grenada people. Junior, hello there, Junior George. Junior is saying, morning, George and viewers. Well, good to see you, Junior. Nice talking with you yesterday. June Paul is saying happy birthday, George Grant. Well, thank you very much, June Paul. Ernesto Jose says, good morning, one and all, and a happy, happy birthday to you, big guy. May God continue to bless you with favors, great health, wealth. He hasn't reached the wealth part yet, but believe me, he's taking care of me in every other way. Every other way. Health, yeah. Peace of mind, yeah. What the heck more could a guy want? And courage. Yeah, he's given me courage too, boy, or I wouldn't be sitting in this chair this morning. To continue keeping us informed and giving us a platform where we can express our views. Yeah, so please, thank him. Thank him. He's been loyal to me for 68 years. Glenn Andrew Mark saying good morning from Michigan. And Ernesto says, Mr. G, let's face the fact, these people are afraid of victimization with this administration. So no one will want to come on the program. Yeah. But you know what? Maybe some people are afraid to come and talk because of fear of victimization. I have spoken. I have been victimized. Take a look. Take a look. By God's grace, I'm still here. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to speak. Don't be afraid. The only person you need to be afraid of is God. Kipling Francis says, the government has made me realize that common sense is not as common as we think, and education is in war with intelligence. Thank you, Grenada. So says Kippy. Charles Norman says, Georgie, good morning. This country is becoming very lawless. It's becoming very lawless. It's a shame. Yeah, well, I'm glad that you recognize that, and I think more and more people are recognizing that these days. Charmaine DeLeo says good morning and sends her blessings. Thank you, Charmaine. Alana Morris Fantassel saying 68. Blessings on you, George. Any plans for today? Yes, Alana. Gonna get some rest. Gonna get some rest. Because tomorrow morning, I want to be back on the beach, man. Can't wait. Can't wait. Jackie O says, happy birthday, Mr. George Grant. You look great for you look great for 68. Yeah. Thank you, Jackie O. She says, I was guessing 60. Hope you have an amazing day. It is going to be an amazing day. Thank you, Jackie O. Kipling Francis says, whoa, good to know it's your birthday. Well, wish God will grant you many more healthy, happy ones. Boy, he's granted me a lot. Mashida Phillip. Hello, Mashida Phillip. That's the 61 degrees west film lady. Best of luck, Mashida. You're doing some terrific work out there. Kelvin Lewis is saying, morning, Mr. Grant, from an overcast Nassau. Happy Earth Strong to you. Kelvin, boy, I'm glad to see you. You're the first person I think I'm speaking to from Nassau since that fiasco you guys had. I pray God's blessings on you people, boy. You've been to hell and back, haven't you? It's been tough. And I'm also glad to see that the international community and the regional communities are sort of banding together. I just hope they do it in an orderly way so that you folks really benefit. Hang in there. God's with you. Ryan is saying good morning. Happy birthday, Lambie Waters. You know, Ryan, that would hit the spot this morning. Some Lambie Waters would just hit the spot this morning. Charmaine DeLille is saying happy birthday, Mr. George. Claude Putner, thanks, Charmaine. Claude Putner saying good morning to you, Mr. Grant and class. It's a glorious day. Happy birthday to you. Stay strong. With you guys around, I'm strong. Hang in there with me, please. You know where my heart lies. Margaret Francis says, imagine where would we be today if some slaves didn't say enough of massa and rise up. No risk, no reward, says Margaret. Yeah, Mike's right on. John Crow Alexander says, good born day. Good born day to you. Thank you, John Crow. He says, how come you didn't get knocked down by a minister to help you celebrate? John Crow, John Crow, John Crow. I used to go to those post-cabinet briefings routinely every week. A couple of years ago, I just decided enough. Okay, boy, yeah, we've done a lot of talking. Folks, let's take our first little break here right now. Let me see. Okay, yes, gotta make sure we got all our ducks lined up so that we don't hit the wrong little things here on this iPad. Anyhow, here goes.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in GRENADA'S, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply Departments and the Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Folks, I see a little comment here that I think is really, really cute. This person snuck in just as we were about to go to the break a little while ago. That's why I didn't read it. But Ken Charles says, "Good morning, Jeans, and happy birthday." I don't know who Ken Charles is, but I'm assuming that Ken Charles is one of those people who's seen me running around town. I love jeans. I'm a blue jeans person, okay? And not only that, I also enjoy wearing shorts. So constantly getting comments about my legs. Let me tell you about the jeans part. You know, nowadays, I don't know what you call it. I'm not a fashion expert. But a lot of people have these jeans with the cutouts on their knees and so on. A lot of cutouts there. And I could never see myself going to a store and buying a pair of jeans that's been cut, okay? But a few weeks ago, I was walking down Lucas Street, and I slipped on something and fell. And when I did, I opened a gash on the knee of the right leg of my jeans. So I thought, wow. Maybe somebody wants me to have the latest fashion, you know, having these cuts on your jeans. So I decided, you know what? I ain't going to have this repaired. I'm going to wear this pair of jeans just the way it is, with this big hole on my right knee. So Ken has probably seen me walking around with jeans and shorts and whatever. Thanks for your sense of humor, Ken Charles. Ali Matura said, "Happy birthday to you, my friend, keeping our democracy alive until such time." Ali, thank you very much. It's good to see you, sir. I really look forward to meeting you one of these days. Anthony Howard says, "Happy birthday, George. You're a good guy. You share the Earth Day with my brother-in-law, Dinsdale Moore. Fonzo." Okay. I don't know Fonzo, Anthony, but thank you very much. Please extend my greetings to him as well. He says, he's a great guy, so you must be okay. Okay. All right, folks. Now, let's get into this. What time is it? 9:30. Let's get into this week's edition of The Buzz, right? Time to get down to business. Okay. Opening scripture. In the presence of God and of Christ Jesus, who will judge the living and the dead, and in view of his appearing and his kingdom, I give you this charge. Preach the word. Be prepared in season and out of season. Correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. For the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great multitude of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside to myths. But you, keep your head on in all situations, endure hardship, do the work of an evangelist, and discharge all the duties of your ministry. That reading, by the way, came to you from the second book of Timothy, chapter 4, verses 1 to 5. You may check it out yourselves. And boy, that's a passage that has meant an awful lot to me, given me a lot of encouragement. Now, here comes little angel, little angel. I love the caption on Little Angel's piece this morning. Little Angel says, blows and more blows for the media. It seemed that on Tuesday, September 10th, was time to direct a physical blow to the only journalist in Grenada who appears to be doing her job. As if the uncalled for reprimand of media workers on August 20th, subsequent disrespect by non-responsive press secretary on September 3rd, and apparent inept MWAG weren't enough attacks towards press freedom on the island. Based on reports, the journalist who had a right to question the marital status of a sitting prime minister may have been singled out for a physical encounter, this time with a man of God who is also a senator in Grenada's parliament. The incident may have also shut out the respect and professionalism expected to have been displayed by the male figure in authority. It is now even more evident that the press secretary's call for respect and professionalism in the workplace was definitely misdirected, and in this case, thrown out the door. Physically assaulting a female journalist who ended up on the floor after asking a question is a demonstration of poor judgment, a lack of self-control, a lack of respect, and was not becoming of a religious pastor who should never be proud of the incident. Leaders are expected to think, act, and react in a more acceptable manner. This latest occurrence and more recent ones are enough to question the purpose of weekly post-cabinet briefings in Grenada and whether they were meant to display arrogance and incompetence by those in authority. It is rather humiliating and considered more an act of disservice rather than service to people and nation for a female journalist to be forced to the floor, literally at the feet of a male member of Parliament. The victim and the rest of Grenadians have a mammoth task to start making right the wrongs surrounding this and so many other cases. Grenada is known for a number of system, institutional, and people failures, and one wonders whether there are enough locals left who care about what took place at the ministerial complex on Tuesday, September 10th. Grenadian leaders have failed the people, and pathetically, the people have failed themselves by remaining silent and complacent about all that has and continues to go wrong in their country. That is signed by Little Angel. It's one thing I want to say here. That's Little Angel's opinion, okay? I have absolutely no proof that this lady was forced to the floor. So I can't agree with that, okay? I do respect your opinion. And this morning when the lady comes in here, not comes in here, but talks to us, we will have a better idea of what happened. All right? Roger Mitchell says, Levi jeans and leather couches get better with age. Good morning, Grenada, and happy birthday, Gigi. Yeah. I so love those jeans. Me ain't parting with them for nothing. Weston Aline says, happy birthday, George, my old church classmate. Oh, really? Yeah, I went to the old church in Grenville. Betty Ann Court says, good morning, all. Just joining. Much blessings to all. Irvin Samuel says, happiest birthday, George. May God abundantly bless you with every good desire of your heart. Oh, boy, thank you so much. Thank you so much. He already has. He has. Kesher, I think that's the way you pronounce it. Kesher Penny says, journalism is once again under attack. Folks. That's going to take care of this week's edition of The Buzz. Betty Ann Court says, blessed and happy Earth Strong, Mr. George Worm. Okay. Is George celebrating a birthday too? Earth Strong? Okay, Betty Ann Court. When I see George, I'll tell him that you sent him a blessed and happy Earth Strong. Okay. Take a break. We'll come back with the editorial from The Advocate.
Good morning, Grenlek Meter Reader.
Morning, Mr. Meterman. I'm glad I caught you. Last month, I got a very high bill, and I don't understand why.
Last month, we were not able to access your meter, so we had to estimate the bill. This will happen if we don't get an actual reading.
So, what can I do to ensure that my meter is easily accessible?
Well, you can get your licensed electrician to move your meter outside of the gate, or directly in front of the house. That way, I'll have easy access and I won't have to deal with your dog.
Ah, Butch.
Yes, dogs can be a problem sometimes. On one occasion, I was attacked by a dog and police had to get involved. Customers who don't want to cage or tie their dogs should really move their meter and make it easily accessible.
Well, I'll consider that.
Thank you.
GrenLink, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks. Ryan Jabon says here, contempt for and ingrained prejudice against women still continues in our Grenada. John says, happy birthday, George, and many, many more to follow. Thanks, John. Martin Jessamy is saying good morning to you guys. Hello, Martin. Thanks for joining us. Lawrence Kruthoff is watching and listening here in London. Ooh, boy, you get around a lot, eh? It's always back and forth, back and forth. Let's see here. Ernesto says, the senator in question, he is known to be very rude, arrogant, and disrespectful, which he displayed in Parliament with ex-Senator Burke and other members of his party. So I am not surprised he will take to the public. So says Ernesto. All right. Pilgrims, let's get into our first editorial. The Grenada Advocate published an editorial this week which is captioned, International Community Needs New Approach Towards Vulnerable Islands. If ever the international community needs to change its policies towards this region, now is the time for such. The ferocious hurricane, which has resulted in several deaths and significant damage and destruction to the Bahamas, is going to take years for that country to recover and rebuild. Coming just 2 years after Hurricane Maria devastated Dominica, which is still recovering from that disaster, there has to be a new approach to this region rather than the one-sided policy of graduation, blacklisting, trade, and financial liberalization that puts strain on Caribbean economies. It has always been the case where small islands are proven to be very susceptible to external shocks and natural disasters. Because of their small size and their vulnerabilities, these countries have no choice but to bear the burden and try to get back on their feet. There is no doubt that the cost of rebuilding the Bahamas is going to be significant. Already, donations have been pledged by some in the international community to the recovery efforts, as well as to the rebuilding process. Commitments have also been pledged by the Caribbean neighbors of the Bahamas, which will come to the rescue of the island chain. Apart from that, other regional groups, associations, private sector bodies, and companies, and the church have announced that they will be coming on board to support the cause, a response which is very admirable. The sooner aid can reach the Bahamas, the better, since the magnitude of the destruction caused by the hurricane indicates that time is running out to start the recovery process. However, The mere location of these islands, which are washed by the Caribbean Sea, is enough to highlight what they continue to face when it comes to natural disasters. The CARICOM Secretariat, in one of several pieces of literature about this region, tells us that the Caribbean is vulnerable to climate change, which results in, among other things, the rising of sea levels. As stated earlier, it is also vulnerable to natural phenomena, such as undersea volcanoes and earthquakes, which can result in tsunamis. The sea influences and is influenced by hurricanes, which are prevalent between June and November each year throughout most of the region. The warm ocean currents in the Caribbean tend to fuel the growth and development of hurricanes. The troubles small states are exposed to appear not to have any meaning among some actors in the international community. Most of them, ranging from the World Bank to some industrialized nations, have, regardless of the challenges, insisted on a policy that small states should not benefit from concessional loans. In the area of international trade, small states are expected to open their markets to inflows of goods from developed states, who, at the same time, engage in all types of trade restrictions on imports from developing nations. There is need for a new order, and what we would like to see is a region treated differently by those who, when it suited them, waged warfare, engaged in political rivalry, and contributed to the Caribbean becoming far from being a zone of peace. That is the editorial which appeared in this past Wednesday's edition of the Grenada Advocate. Okie dokie dokie. Let me see here. Kipling says, we're back to social media now. Kipling says, I thank the minister for showing the press secretary who is really disrespectful. Ernesto says, okay. Ken Charles says, the senator has to go. Okay. Spice Babes Duncan is checking in, saying good morning. Arthur Langine is there as well. Meckerman Alexander sending a blessed Sunday to one and all. Pilgrims, oi. Break time, then the new today.
In our part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now, for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to GRENLEC's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call GRENLEC at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put me food in this. Where you get that? At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates,
Anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment.
Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks, here we go with the editorial from this past Friday's edition of the New Today. It is captioned, RGPF Found Wanting. The Royal Grenada Police Force has been found badly wanting over false information put out on August 14th, one day after the end of Spice Mass 2019. The police force called the local press corps to headquarters on Fort George to announce that 27,311 persons came to the island for the carnival, which turned out to be nothing but misinformation and propaganda. The New Today challenged the lawmen to provide proof of this figure, and 1 month later, after putting out such misleading information, the RGPF has not answered any of our questions sent to the Office of the Commissioner of Police and the Community Relations Department on the matter. This newspaper reproduces in full the questions that were sent to the police a month ago to provide proof that 27,311 persons came to the island for carnival. 1. We need to find out what period of time did all these people come into the country. 2. What is considered as the carnival period by the police? 3. How many people came to Grenada last year for carnival based on your criteria for determining the carnival season? 4. How many people came in by land or sea during that period? 5. Give us a breakdown of the figures that came in at the airport during this period by the various airlines operating into MBIA. Next, give us a breakdown of the figures that came by sea, including yachts. Next, did the 27,000 plus people put on the immigration form that they were coming specifically for carnival? Next, please also give us a breakdown of the regional figures in terms of the arrivals from the various islands like Trinidad and Barbados, etc. Next, how many of the people came into the island during the period not for carnival, but for other purposes like funerals? Next, why are the police taking on the responsibility of putting out this figure in such a rush and not leaving it to the Ministry of Tourism or the Grenada Tourism Authority. The New Today became very suspicious of this figure put out by the RGPF and was very much concerned that it was done for pure political reasons and to send a message to the masses that thousands flocked to our shores for Spice Mass under the current regime. It should be noted that the information was gathered by the Immigration Department, which is now under the firm control of a brother of a member of the Cabinet of Ministers of the ruling New National Party government. Investigations made by this newspaper revealed that the source of the information told his superiors that the period used to tabulate the figures, mid-July to August 13th, was the timeline used by the Grenada Tourism Authority to determine the carnival arrival figures. However, a few weeks later, the Tourism Authority put out its own press release pointing out that 13,327 persons came for Carnival and not the 27,311 as claimed by the RGPF in its dissemination of quite misleading information to the public. Why the rush by RGPF to put this information in the public domain? This kind of information should be put out by the Ministry of Tourism or the Ministry of Finance, which are expected to do the tabulation in terms of the economic and financial impact of Spice Mass on the country. This is not an issue for the police, since it does not fall in their domain. RGPF is crossing the line. The current holder of the office of Acting Commissioner of Police, Edwin Martin, was always ready to take questions from the local media when he held the post of Superintendent of Police and also Assistant Commissioner of Police. But today, he is refusing to answer the questions that were sent to him on the subject matter. Why? Is the chief cop now under pressure from the political directorate over recent happenings in the country? Grenadians should not forget the recent disclosure from Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell that it was not for the Commissioner of Police to make a decision on the $250,000 payment given to the 14 elite police officers who comprise his security detail, against a cabinet directive that all public officers should take their holidays due, and failing which, they will lose it and not be paid for it. Who is really in charge of the RGPF? Is there any independence in the office of Commissioner of Police? Or is the NNP cabal really running the show? Pilgrims, that was your editorial, which appeared in Friday's edition of the New Today. Some more food for thought. Okay. Let me see what's going on here now. Oh, boy, you guys are really busy out there this morning. You guys are still talking about that. I can just imagine when we get into this media issue, I can just imagine what's going to happen. Mickaman Alexander says the senator is behaving just as his leader does. Do as I say or else. Bob Barishow says, good morning and happy birthday, George. A picture is worth 1,000 words, as the saying goes, but I shall reserve judgment until I see the minister's position on the incident. This thing bothers me. I met him last August for the carnival and was just getting to like him. Now, I'm very confused. Poor CALISTRA, you have my sympathy. Sandra Pear, my goodness, I haven't seen Sandra Pear on this program ever before. Hello, Sandra Pear, good morning. She's saying happy birthday. Ernesto says the audio going high and sometimes low. Okay. John says it's fine where I am, Ernesto. Well, it's fine from where I sit. What's going out this morning? Keeping my pinkies crossed, but so far this morning, so far so good. Glenn Andrew Mark says, should we believe or take with a pinch of salt? Not sure what Glenn's referring to. Okay. Break time, pilgrims, and then we're going to come back. You know, I told you about a piece this morning that I'm going to present to you from NORRIS Mitchell. Yeah. Boy, this one's going to make you scratch your head, believe me. Make you scratch your head. But, again, we just don't seem to have too many big surprises in this country anymore. Break time.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in GRENADA'S, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply departments and Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Okie dokie. Let's see here now, 4 minutes after the hour. Boy, we're running a little bit behind time, so let's get cracking. NORRIS Mitchell writes on the state of affairs, governance. We begin with a quote. Ill fares the land, to hastening ills a prey, where wealth accumulates and men decay. This quotation is the first two lines from the second stanza of a poem titled Deserted Village by the English poet and novelist Oliver Goldsmith. Goldsmith must have lived in an environment during the 18th century in England similar to that of Grenada today, where a large percentage of the population, some say as much as 60%, were experiencing a sense of exclusion, victimization, and deprivation to have expressed in poetic language the issues of their day through the desperation of his time. 2 years after the end of a 3-year or so-called homegrown structural adjustment program, we are reminded ad nauseum how Grenada's wealth is accumulating as our economy is the most robust in the Eastern Caribbean. Tourism is booming, and the tax-collecting agencies like the Treasury, Inland Revenue, and the Customs are collecting revenue well above the government's projections. In addition, the statistics provided state that from 2013 to 2019, unemployment has been reduced from 40% to 16% or thereabouts, whilst at the same time, we are informed that the national insurance scheme is going broke. Many years ago, during a visit to Grenada by the late distinguished Grenadian economist Sir Alistair MacIntyre, in a conversation with him, he reminded or enlightened me that there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. Quote, unquote. How is it then that with all this accumulating wealth, the government refuses to provide funds to pay teachers and public servants their 25% gratuity and pension as stipulated in our Constitution, while arguing that the Fiscal Protection Act instituted at the behest of the IMF only allows 9% of the GDP for emoluments such as pensions, salaries, and wages? Can a recent act which intentionally limits the fiscal space and at the same time pauperizes a large section of the labor force at a time in their retirement when these resources are most needed be the response of a caring, benevolent government? After the 2013 and 2018 elections, the CARICOM and OAS visiting election observer missions made recommendations to the government on both occasions to make certain changes in the electoral laws in order to ensure that the pre-election and election processes, including the conduct of the election office, were transparent and on a level playing field, where voter padding is a thing of the past and registration a reliable process, where votes are not bought and persons intimidated, so as to ensure a free and fair election which reflects the will of the people, in order to have a representative government of their choice that is not manipulated in the interest of partisan politics, with a Machiavellian or satanic urge to be in charge at all cost. I am sure the public would like to know whether these recommendations have been executed and passed into law, so that the next general election would be undertaken in the manner prescribed by these two international organizations in the interest of preserving what is left of our democracy. The universal expectations from governments are to enhance and empower the people they represent. This being a given, one of the immediate criteria is the health of its citizens. This is reflected in the physical facilities and services provided at the General Hospital and the various health centers island-wide. Without getting into the horrid details, it is well known and documented that the present health facilities and services are a continuing nightmare, especially for the poor, the elderly, the unrepresented, and the mentally challenged, without any tangible evidence of a general improvement in the near future. Not far behind health is justice. When the justice system in Grenada is denied the physical structures and facilities to dispense justice, especially to the ordinary citizen, the state becomes a lawless society, which it is fast becoming, as the lawmakers themselves become the law breakers. Although the judiciary is an equal arm of government, it is treated like a bastard child, not worthy of inheritance, to the detriment of the people and the unobtrusive dismantling of law and order, with its consequential social repercussions, which are already occurring. The state of the physical infrastructure in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique must not be excluded from the state of affairs. Without adequate and proper roads, bridges, retaining walls, potable water, especially in rural communities, maintenance of public buildings such as schools, health centers, courthouses, police stations, etc., the day-to-day function of the state is hampered, and in some cases, grinds to a halt, as efficiency and productivity are confined to a priority of contending players in a third world economy. Development in Grenada is the construction of a hotel on a beach, while at the same time systematically destroying nature's assets or gifts to pure Grenada. It is expected that the developer of the recently announced new hotel project at La Sagesse in St. David would respect the high water mark laws of Grenada, and to be reminded that all beaches in Grenada are public property with unobstructed access at all times. The Informer newspaper editorial of September 6, 2019, entitled, and I quote, "Are we marrying development and the environment effectively?" unquote, reminds us of the possible desecration of the pristine La Sagesse area and its environs in the hectic search for jobs. In other words, it must not be development or the environment. It must be development in harmony with the environment in which we live and move and have our being. It would be remiss of me to exclude green places, open spaces, from the physical infrastructure. This amenity is the one that provides relaxation and spiritual and emotional wellness to the citizens, while acting as the lungs of the community. Camahan Park, Monrouge Pasture, Quarantine Point, Lagoon Road Park, Kirani James Boulevard are the only remaining open green spaces available in the parish of St. George, which should be preserved and upgraded, while in the secondary towns, our playing fields are the only recreational facilities extant. However, an article in the Grenadian Voice newspaper of August 30th, 2019, entitled Camahan Park on the Back Burner, painted a very gloomy picture by the chairman of the Save Camahan Park Steering Committee, who disclosed that the park, which is under the control of the Ministry of Tourism, appears to be selected for benign neglect, as the ministry appears unwilling to cooperate with the Parks Committee in maintaining the facility generally, and in particular, the repairs or replacement of the deteriorating children's furniture and other amenities. On top of that, the huge pile of earth along a portion of the boundary of the proposed Egyptian developer Riviera Hotel site and the park is alternatively emitting dust or sludge, depending on the weather, onto the park, which renders it unhealthy and unsuitable at times. Echoes of a caring and children-loving government. The policy and practice of building on every available open space without consideration for the health, wellness, and orderly physical development of the nation is a matter of grave concern and reflects the mentality of successive governments to put in place a land use policy which does not appear to be in the interest of partisan politics, but rather provides political leverage in wheeling and dealing with foreign investors at the expense of a rational, scientific, and orderly development strategy as a means of empowering our people, as is done in progressive countries of comparable size like Singapore and Hong Kong. Grenada is 21 miles long and 12 miles wide, with a population of about 110,000, and a road network that was initially designed for the 18th century for donkey carts and for horse and carriage, not for motor vehicles. In any modern progressive country where there is recognition that there must be a ratio, a sensible balance, if you will, between the carrying capacity of our roads as it relates to the optimum number of motor vehicles that could safely accommodate without causing traffic jams, increasing loss of productive manpower, accidents, and fatal collisions. In my view, the police can only do so much. The large and growing number and size of vehicles on our roads today begs the question: what is the policy, if any, for future importation? This is an issue of national importance if we are to assist in minimizing greenhouse gases, global warming, and rising sea levels, the latter of which could destroy our economy overnight. Excuse me. Yes, it could destroy our economy overnight by extensive damage caused by hurricanes to our coastal infrastructure of hotels, restaurants, and seaside villas. This is the time to analyze the effects of our natural phenomena as we contemplate a climate-smart Grenada, together with a moratorium on our vehicle intake, before driving ourselves to death on our narrow, winding, hilly, and congested roads. Mr. Dennis Canning's article in The Informer, August 23, 2019, on the existing problems and the future importation of motor vehicles in Grenada, with its grave consequences, should make for instructive and compulsory reading for the powers that be. The social landscape must not go unnoticed. Man is a social animal. We live in communities, and for its survival and enhancement, certain societal norms must be observed. There seems, however, to be something amiss with our young male population, who comprise almost 100% of the prison population, while our struggling single-parent homes of mothers only, without the necessary or adequate support from the state institutions, could be the genesis of a dysfunctional family. Nothing much is said of the church via the Grenada Conference of Churches. As to its latter-day advocacy, leading the flock to the promised land is unfortunately muted and appears to have lost its moral compass on account of its unusual accommodation of the ills of the political directorate, which, by the way, also apply to other institutions like the Grenada Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the Media Workers Association of Grenada. The population of our country is the sum total of the family unit. The strength and integrity of the family is the strength and integrity of the nation. So, pure Grenada, where are we heading as a society? In conclusion, the state of affairs cannot ignore the level of institutional corruption in our society. Only a myopic observer would deny its prevalence, where our lawmakers have become our lawbreakers, while our institutions are routinely undermined. There was a recent article in the print media which described the high cost of corruption and the debilitating and negative effect it has on development, especially in poor countries like Grenada, where public funds, that's taxpayers' money, go into the pockets of individuals enriching a few who are living on the fat of the land with ill-gotten gains, while denying health centers and hospitals of beds, bandages, and drugs, inadequate repairs, and replacement of schools and other essential public buildings, potholes in the roads, housing for poor people, not party supporters only, equal opportunity, especially for the youth of all political parties, and of course, justice for all. reading Goldsmith's Deserted Village was indeed a rude reminder of the parlous state of our own Grenadian affairs. Whew. Okay, folks, I see that there's some comments here. I'm going to try and get these in very quickly because we are running behind time, well behind time. Chester Simon says, lots of questions asked over here about Grenada. They are asking who's running Grenada. So many negative things are happening and not one of those people are held accountable. It's a shame. Green's Auto Body says, George, lawlessness is really the order of the day in Grenada. On Tuesday the 10th, I had part of my office building illegally damaged by my landlords without a court order in the presence of 2 police officers. And they stood there and watched it happen and did nothing to stop it. I rest my case. Ernesto says, as long as the Constitution reminds no one, Isaac Opie says, good morning, George and class, and best wishes for the new week. I'm calling on Naguib Cyrus, the Egyptian billionaire, to avoid the wrath of the nation by claiming Camahan for hotel and denying the Grenadian people of their prized spot on GRENADA'S beach. Presently, his workers are causing choking dust while our citizens are trying to enjoy this peaceful Camahan Park. Please tell Dr. Mitchell you are not buying the park. John says, re-healthcare in Grenada, the U.S. hospital ship Comfort will show just how the health situation really is by the number of those seeking treatments, etc. Ian Blakey says, 1, happy birthday, George, and many more. 2, if you want to see tourism development destroying the very reason that tourists want to come to a destination, as well as scuppering local livelihoods, you somehow need to see the film Jamaica for Sale trailer on YouTube. Yes, Ian, I did see that some time ago. Thanks a lot. Isaac says, lawmakers are lawbreakers. I said so many years ago. Okay, folks, listen, we're going to have to cool it here and at the same time start scooting. I mentioned that I was going to show you 2 videos this morning, and I think we better get to the first right now. The first is a piece which Brian Pitt and I did on Friday morning. And this was a discussion we were having about the situation which occurred, the incident which occurred down at the Botanical Gardens after the post-cabinet briefing between the Minister of Information and a reporter, okay? Here's that conversation.
Have you been to one of these things, George?
I used to go frequently, every week, but I stopped a few years ago.
Well, CALISTRA said something in an interview which caught my ear. Words to the effect that they are only allowed to ask questions on the topic at hand. Am I correct in my conclusion there?
I don't remember her saying that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I know that in my day you could ask questions, but they were not really welcome. These people came there prepared to answer questions about a specific topic.
But I gather that there is, in the briefing, you are allowed to ask questions pertaining to a particular topic that the minister or representative of the government is there to answer.
Yeah.
If that is the case, then there's something very wrong with MWAG agreeing to a post-cabinet meeting where the questions are controlled by the people who are having the briefing.
Yes, sir.
You know, if I'm correct, at a cabinet meeting, the business of the state is discussed. No one issue. So you're not going to have a cabinet briefing just to discuss health or agriculture. There's an agenda. And you talk about whatever is on that agenda, the people's business. So unless the media association can dictate to the press secretary or whoever else, the minister responsible for information, that we are going to stay on topic for a certain period of time, but we want 10 minutes to ask any question that comes to mind about the nation's business, that I can't see the use of this post-cabinet briefing, George.
Well, you know, Brian, I understand what you're saying, but like I said, back in my day when I used to attend the post-cabinet briefings, you could ask anything you want. Because, I mean, it was an opportunity for the media to interrogate the authorities. That's it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it worked fine. It worked fine.
But it doesn't seem that is what is happening today. And if that is not what's happening, then I think MWAC need to sit down and decide how it's going to further advance conversations or questions as it relates to the post-cabinet briefing.
You're asking a lot of MWAC.
Well, you see, George, I think MWAC has lost their moral authority. You know?
Absolutely.
And that is unfortunate, because I asked myself a number of questions in regard to this incident. Was a crime committed? And if a crime was committed, are the police investigating this crime as it was committed? Because it was committed in wide open space where cameras were rolling, I understand.
Yep.
Because there's all kinds of stuff on social media. And if a crime was committed or the matter is not being investigated, then what we have is a further corruption of some institutions in this country that we may not recover from, you know. Because if the police decides that it would not investigate this because of who the person is, then it leaves a lot to be desired of the police.
Brian, stick a pin there for a minute.
Sure.
Was an investigation done by the police into Cellgate?
Well, you see, therein lies our problem.
Yes or
George.
no, Brian? Brian, hold on.
I am not aware.
Okay.
I'm not aware.
Was anything done about the payment of the security detail in lieu of vacation?
I am not aware.
Okay. And now you
Well,
expect
maybe
now you
something
expect
to be-
now you expect the police to act here?
Well, you see, we are talking now, George, about a total breakdown in the society in Grenada. And we're going back now to are we going to just let this continue, or is somebody going to take action and try to correct the situation? Because, you know, we're going down a kind of road that we might regret in years to come. You know, I don't understand why we are not allowed to inquire about the nation's business. You know, and George, I recall I was involved in a program called You Decide. I think Beyond the Headlines was a good program where if there's a topical issue of the day, we will get a minister of government or somebody responsible for that conversation to come and sit down and have a conversation with us. I'm not aware that there's any such programming anymore.
Correct.
So we are down a one-way street where people are left to guess as to the ethics and responsibility of those people we paid or we voted for to represent us. And that is a dangerous situation.
Sharon is asking a question here, boy. I know this one's going to stump you. Brian, who do you expect to take action?
George, the institutions that cause this country to run. And let me, it just came to mind. I wonder if the president of the Senate will allow a question to be asked about this incident. I'm going to pay particular attention to the next sitting of the Senate to find out if, because Senator Garvey is a member of the Senate.
Yes.
And if on the other side or an independent senator can ask a question of Senator Garvey about this particular incident. But we have to believe, George, that somebody is going to take action on our behalf. I still believe that the law will play its rightful role over time in regulating how this place is governed. Now, so far, matters have gone before the court, and when the government is wrong, it's a judge to be wrong. As a matter of fact, I believe the Prime Minister got very upset with members of the Attorney General's office who he believes did not represent them well because they lost cases.
Yes.
You know, so maybe the last bastion of hope for the survival of the governance of this country might very well be the law. But then again, there are questions as to the people representing the law. Some people are bending the rules just to satisfy the innocence of their clients. So the spirit of the law, George, is being challenged right now here in Grenada as we speak. Now, a topical issue in the world today, George, is how states are treating journalists. The Saudi Arabians are being put over the coals because some guy died, George. And from what I saw, this is an abuse. So if some member of this local media were to put out a story to the foreign media, local, regional, or international, that this incident took place in Grenada, I would like to know what will happen. Hey, George?
It seems that that's our only hope now, that somebody from the outside, maybe an organization like Reporters Without Borders or the International Press Institute, it seems like they may be the only hope left because, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that this thing has to end somewhere. What worries me is how it's going to end. Samantha McFarland says it's a dictatorship heading to communism. Hey, now, that might be a harsh comment, but the lady may be onto something there. And Sharon Roberts says, someone told me on the beach this morning that the people like it so. They voted them back in. You have to wonder about a man who feels free to assault a lady. What is he doing at home to the females in his life? Just wondering. Margaret Francis says, Brian, the guy didn't die. He was murdered by the Saudi government.
Yes, he was murdered by the Saudi government, and the United Nations representative said so. And there is a deep concern about the treatment of journalists throughout the world today, George, because a lot of governments are moving to solidify themselves as little dictatorships and suppressing the media and suppressing opposition. This fake news thing is becoming very topical. Fake news is anything that governments don't want you to know about, that they are the only person who tells the truth. So they're parading behind this whole fake news. Saying, I would be surprised if Mr. Garvey's response to this thing was that it was fake news, and that the lady tripped on herself. But it's very serious, George, and I think I'm beginning to be very, very, very concerned that we are heading down a road that we may not be able to come out of by just simple dialogue.
Well, Brian, the culprits are one thing, but the people who are being abused, they are another. Do you know, I've been trying for the last 2 days to reach Miss Farrier, to invite her on the program on Sunday to talk. These things need to be vented. They need to be vented.
Yes.
No answer, man. No answer, no answer, no answer. I have also talked with, I intend to speak to some more today, but I've already talked with one lawyer who would prefer not to deal with it. There is one person who was very anxious to talk about it, Jimmy Bristow, but unfortunately Jimmy is in France right now, and he's not able to join me on Sunday. But this is something we intend to take up on Sunday, big time.
Well,
hold on. Now that I've put the word out, don't be too surprised if you see your internet connection going haywire on Sunday. I just have to mention that because I think all my viewers know what's happening. See? For example, look, John, right here now as we speak, John said, guess what? A dropout on a sensitive subject. Once we start discussing sensitive issues, you see things going to hell in a handbasket. And you know it, you've experienced it.
Yes, but George, the fallout of all this stuff is that if the government of Grenada is not prepared to sanction those people who misbehave, the government will suffer in the long run. It may not be in mine and your lifetime, but they'll suffer in the long run. People who misbehave must be sanctioned, and sanctioned to the goodwill of the people involved. I mean, we need the media, we need journalists. I was very, very surprised, George, to be honest with you, to hear that journalists are only allowed to ask questions on a particular topic they're being discussed. I was surprised. And I mentioned this to a friend of mine, and he said, Brian, what you telling me? You mean you can't ask any other question at a post-cabinet briefing? Then there's something wrong.
Not only that, man, the journalists get the evil spirits rebuked out of them. You heard about that part?
No.
Oh, you didn't hear that part?
You know, my grandmother used to say, had a thing she tell me all the time, you know. What she put it again, boy? What is joke for school children is dead for crapo.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. What is joke for school children is dead for crapo.
You mentioned that all of these things are going to come back to haunt the government. And I was thinking this week, what happened on Tuesday is not only further tarnishing the image of the government, but, because it happened, because it was done by a pastor, it tarnishes the religious community as well. And, when you see pastors behaving in this manner, I mean, is it hard to understand why people are staying away from the churches?
And that includes, whether they like it or not, all religious organizations.
Yeah.
All. So those who decide to keep quiet about this issue is also being tarnished.
Yeah.
And further, George, it is about a man and a woman.
Yeah.
In this day and age of the U2 movement, abuse can be defined as a lot of things, This guy could be accused of abusing a woman. Whether it be verbally by telling you, I want to get the evil spirits out of you, or physically by pushing her to the ground if he did. That's abuse. And I don't know if the journalists involved have approached counsel on this matter, but I think she should. And if she hasn't and hasn't had the money, this is an opportunity for the legal fraternity in Grenada to take this case pro bono, because it is to the governance of this country.
Yeah. I was told by one lawyer that in the past he had offered to handle a case with her pro bono, but apparently never pursued it.
Because this is the second incident with this journalist.
In a couple of weeks.
Before the election where something was boxed out of her hand. Now, I don't know what the conclusion of that matter was.
Yeah.
But not even thinking of that particular journalist, it is something that can happen to anybody. Yeah. So the fraternity, MY, should be concerned about this whole thing. Yes, George?
Absolutely. And I mean, the talk on the street is, where is the reaction from MWAG? Where is the reaction?
clearly.
All right, folks. All right, I'm here. I am here. I'm here. Just in case you're wondering, I am here. Now, that piece was Brian Pitt on Friday morning. There's also a piece with Alan Baczynski. It's a short piece with Alan. I want you to check this out.
Now, with regard to the media, you and I have been informed since this altercation apparently happened on Tuesday. And I take my fast self. I know there's cricket on one news station, and then the other one, the MTV one, I checked to see. And to my amazement, nothing. That was Tuesday, nothing Wednesday. And then, well, you've read the statement that CALISTRA finally put out. But what I found interesting there is that she has stated that there appear to have been warnings given regarding the dissemination of the information as to what transpired. Now, I have little confidence that MWAG will do anything at all. But one would hope that since this is out there, and I have done my bit in sending it to St. Lucia, CALISTRA's statement that is, because presumably that one will be more accurate than some of the other stuff floating around on social media.
Yeah.
But I am hoping that within the region, people will take note that media practitioners in Grenada are engaged in self-censorship, and that when they attend any regional conferences, that they should be upbraided, that they should be laughed at, and they should be told in no uncertain terms that they do a disservice to the profession. They are a disgrace. Contrast the furor that took place when a certain media outfit was taken along to cover what, in my view, was a provocation at the offices of the Carnival Committee, when the cameras were rolling from start to finish. This was not news. This was them going to cover a provocation, in my view. But yet, they were there at a post-cabinet briefing. I presume more than one entity there had cameras. I expect the Government Information Service had cameras rolling. I expect that the Grenada Broadcasting Network had cameras rolling. And there were people there who heard and saw what went on. No, this follows an incident, I think it was last week, when the US ambassador was visiting and certain questions regarding citizenship and passports were put to the US ambassador. And I think it was Sarah Sanders who tried to intervene along the lines of the ambassador, not here to talk about that. And the ambassador said, I certainly want to talk about it because we have concerns. Now, whether it is, was it last week or week before? I don't recall. But nevertheless, the following week, here you have not just Sarah Sanders, but the man in charge trying to deflect journalists' questions from the parliamentary representative. And according to the report, the parliamentary representative was clearly in a position to respond and perhaps wanted to respond.
Yeah.
Because naturally, I mean, I have known the parliamentary representative for many years. I've always found her to be very approachable and quite open. So I don't think she wanted to hide anything. But you had this mongoose who intervened. Now, I say mongoose for a very good reason. If you're old enough to remember what actually used to take place in those days, prior to the coup d'etat, Uncle had a number of strong supporters who were collectively known as the Mongoose Gang. They were vilified by many people in opposition, but in fact they did from time to time behave themselves in a very bad way. And well, this is what happens. Violence begets violence. And so we know what happens when you surround yourself with mongoose. Now, all along, I thought we had a man of God, but he turns out to be no different from the members of the Mongoose Gang. So he engaged in, presumably, he has misunderstood what his role as Minister of Information is. So I had some other names for him, but I am now going to call him Mongoose, because that is the way he is behaving. Not the four-legged mongoose, because I know there are many of the people outside there who will not find me being sufficiently Christian-like or Christianly charitable. But I don't really care, because if he behaves like a member of the Mongoose Gang, then that is the appellation that will be given to him by me. So, in addition to Pastor, Doctor, Senator, I can now call him Mongoose, because that is the way he is behaving. Now, he also, I'm beginning to question his credentials, because I had to do some research. From CALISTRA's report, you see that she heard certain utterings regarding the devil. So I was forced to do some research as to how do you rebuke or cause the devil to be rebuked. Now, to start with, you have to be of the level of intelligence which allows you to accept that there is demonic possession. I am not as intelligent as those people who believe in demonic possession. I say that from the start because I haven't done enough research into it. But if this individual is so qualified as to identify demonic possession and to know that CALISTRA is possessed by the devil, then he likewise ought to have studied long and hard enough before he got his PhD to know that, as I have discovered, it is not within his authority to rebuke the devil in CALISTRA. He has to invoke the power of the Son of God. The rebuking can only take place through the grace and power and authority of the Lord Jesus, whose name must be invoked in all instances of rebuking of the devil and those who are possessed thereof. Apart from my own research, I've had it confirmed. I saw another correspondent on your forum confirm that, in fact, the proper way to rebuke is only through the holy name of the Lord Jesus. So this mongoose clearly is not qualified, in my view, to hold his PhD. And I'm wondering now, where did he get it? I am also wondering, since the validity of his qualifications are in question, I am wondering whether or not the other things that he claims to be able to do, such as manage disasters, I'm extremely concerned, because I'm beginning to think that He is the disaster that needs to be managed. And I want to recommend to the National Disaster Management Agency that they look very closely at him and draw a line around him, out of which he should not step, because he clearly needs management. He is not going to get it from the presiding officer in the Senate. He clearly is not going to get it from the members of the political party in which I presume he is a paid-up member. And I don't suppose he will get it if he still has a congregation. Now, the issue now is, if you have a mongoose, you must have a commander, because the mongoose don't operate just by themselves. They have to be fed and they have to be directed as to where they should make their attacks. And it occurred to me that if you have a mongoose, and if there's more than one, you then have a mongoose gang. And if you have a gang of mongoose, then you need to have a commander. But the commander must in turn report to the supreme boss. Now, I think we have an opportunity here that if we go back up, if we follow the trail of the mongoose and the mongoose gang and the commander, the man in charge, I think, is the night commander of the mongoose gang. That is the proper appellation, and the letters following the name are KCMG, Night Commander of the Mongoose Gang. And if you find out who is the night commander of that particular mongoose, you'll get 3 letters, KCM, are done.
Alrighty, folks, alrighty. The 2 videos you were just looking at are preludes, if you will, to what we're going to be talking about over the next hour. I'm going to take a little break, and then I'll come back. You'll see that there are 4 of our guests all lined up there already. We're going to take a little break here, and then we will come right on back and introduce them to you. Hang on.
Because your vehicle is a necessity, being roadworthy is critical. Hubbard's Motor Department introduces its new tire and battery sales and service outlet located at Building Supplies Compound in GRENADA'S, close to the Sugar Mill Roundabout. Available are a wide range of competitively priced tires, maintenance-free batteries, oils and lubricants. Keeping in mind your busy schedule, this outlet is equipped to provide you with fast and reliable service. Simply drive in and you'll be delighted with your service experience. For more information, contact 440-2087. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Alrighty, folks, we are back. Let me begin now by introducing to you our guest for the next segment. It's 1 minute after 11 o'clock. On the top left of your screen is a young lady by the name of CALISTRA FARRIER. Calistra, just wave so everybody knows where you are. There, there she is with her little wave. And Calistra is the victim of the alleged abuse which took place down at the Botanical Gardens immediately following the post cabinet briefing this past Tuesday. Now, right below Calistra is an attorney at law, no stranger to this platform. The lady's name is Claudette Joseph. There you go, Claudette. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming. I was a little bit concerned about whether or not you'd be able to make it, but I'm delighted.
Yeah, I tried. It was a little difficult, but I'm here.
You're here. Then just to Claudette's left, that would be to the right of your screen, is, well, here she is, the producer of Mech We Chat and a freelance journalist, lady by the name of, what's your name? This lady, by the way, is Beverley Sinclair. And Beverley, it's really, really nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. I understand that you're in Jamaica this morning. I hope we have a good link. Can you hear me? We're not hearing you, but...
Yes. I'm hearing you fine.
Okay, she's hearing us fine.
And just one little adjustment. It's not freelance journalist. It's independent journalist. You see, a freelancer is a journalist who is affiliated with a particular media entity, but not employed to that entity. So you freelance, sorry, you could freelance for the BBC or for CNN or for anybody, but you're not employed to them. I don't freelance. I work independently.
Thank you very much for clearing that up for us. Boy, I'm afraid to go to the next guy, the one to your right now. You notice we're shifting positions on the screen. But we have joined by Mr. Jerry George. Jerry, you tell me, what the heck are you? Are you a freelance journalist, an independent journalist, a mongoose? What are you?
In that case, I might be say I imitated my monkey. George, let me make this abundantly clear, right? On the issue of journalism. I love journalism. I guess I take Beverly's viewpoint that I am an independent journalist. Journalism basically is, I take it as a hobby, but I do it very seriously. All right. Having said that, I will do the job as necessary, and I will be very insistent on making sure it's right and it's well done. So call me independent too.
Well, hello, Independent 2. Nice to see you. Thank you very much. You two indies are doing a very good job. Let me get right to Calistra. Calistra, you have, as far as I know, you have never, ever been
Tell
on
Calistra
this.
to smile for me, please. Tell Calistra to smile for me.
Hi, Jerry. Jerry, me put to me, I can smile without pain. Oh gosh.
Calistra, listen, boy, the next hour is devoted to you, and I want you to begin. Before we get into the substantive discussion here, I want you to begin with the incident which happened a couple of weeks before, where you were asking the Prime Minister at a post-cabinet briefing about his marital status. For the benefit of the people who have not been following this whole escapade, what happened at that particular post-cabinet briefing?
Well, as a journalist, people come to you with all kinds of information. If the government can't help them, if they have questions or concerns with the government, they turn to the journalist. And more over the last few years in particular, people have been coming to me with information that they can't clarify or information, things that they feel helpless about. There's a great deal of helplessness that I get from the people now after doing this for quite a while. So one of the things that I've been hearing quite a bit were questions about the absence of the Prime Minister's wife, Mrs. Mitchell, who had been around for 20-something years. And people were asking about that. And there were rumors about the Prime Minister, a practicing Catholic, no longer being married. And so I felt that the only way to address it, I'm a journalist and I don't participate in gossip and rumors. I verify information. And the only place I can verify it, short of seeing a divorce decree, an official document from the registry, which I couldn't find actually, I would ask the Prime Minister. And I had been hoping to get a one-on-one with him. In fact, I requested a one-on-one interview with the press secretary, but that was denied me. So the first opportunity I had at that post-cabinet briefing, I would have asked. In fact, I intended to ask him several months ago about it because this has been in the air for quite a bit. I intended to ask about it before, but what has been happening is that while GIS, I'm on the email list for GIS, and while they would send notices and so on for press briefings or government news releases, whenever the Prime Minister would appear, I would not receive one such notice, a notice like that. So I would find out, by the way, that it's the Prime Minister giving the news conference, and of course I would show up. But the one he gave before that last one, I was busy and I didn't follow up with anyone to find out. I noticed there wasn't an email, but I didn't follow up and I missed it. And of course, I was very disappointed because I had that question and several others, in fact, to ask the Prime Minister. So I was happy when I was told by journalists recently that the Prime Minister was going to be there, and I was searching for an opportunity because I am not unaware that the question was a sensitive one. I still maintain it's a question that needed to be asked, and in fact, it's a question that needs to be answered clearly by the Prime Minister. And the response that he gave, while as a journalist and analyzing his response, his demeanor, the words he used, and everything like that, he said more to me there than the public may believe that he said. But it's a question that needed to be asked, and I do not regret asking that question. I would ask it again if it becomes necessary. The Prime Minister is a public figure, and if we look into our statutes and the legislation that governs us as a nation from way back, and Claudette should be able to speak to that. The Prime Minister does owe the public answers on matters relating to his private life that can go towards governance of the country. And so the Prime Minister may have, I believe that the question regarding the Prime Minister's marriage, he may have interpreted other things, other information that's been in the public domain. And he may have been answering to a question I did not ask, more than a question that I did ask.
Okay.
And I think he hoped that I would miss a beat by talking about not wanting my private life to be discussed. And the minute that I put myself on a ballot in this country, by all means, ask away. But as a private citizen, not offering myself to take responsibility for any state affairs, I would fall under the jurisdiction of a regular citizen, whereas the Prime Minister, he doesn't really, he doesn't. So I'm not fazed by don't go there. I understand why I got don't go there, because he felt that he can get away with it because not many people are asking him to come to account these days.
All right. Let me get a legal. Hold on, Beverly. Let me get a legal take on that. Claudette, was she well within her right to ask that question?
Absolutely, George. And as I said on another forum, I don't think I said good morning to your viewers and listeners. Good morning, all, and it's good to be here again. The question was quite in order. The answer to the question was absolutely out of order, and I think the Prime Minister of today owes the public and CALISTRA in particular an apology for his out of order response. As CALISTRA correctly says, once you enter public life, there are certain concessions that you must make. Now, granted, our Constitution affords all of us the right to privacy. But as we are taught in law, that your rights only extend, firstly, to the point where they do not infringe on the rights of others, and secondly, where under any statute or convention or norm or obligation, you must concede some of those rights. Now, the Prime Minister's wife, as CALISTRA said, is somebody we've known by his side in politics from day one. So when certain rumors started surfacing, it was quite in order for CALISTRA to ask the question, because as a public, we need to know whether we should continue to afford to Mrs. Mitchell's the privileges and protocols and conveniences that we afford her as the wife of the Prime Minister, or if there is somebody else we should afford those privileges to. So it was quite an orderly question. That's a proper and appropriate question. And the answer was totally out of order, if you ask me.
Another point I'm going to make here, Claudette, is that the public quite often jumps on the back of reporters for supposedly putting out news out there without asking questions and getting the facts. And I think she was doing just that, trying to get the facts without. Huh?
But George CALISTRA is just about the only journalist now we have attending these conferences and asking the hard questions. And I mean, that's just reality.
I've noticed that. CALISTRA, you also host a television program, The Business Files. We're not dealing with that this morning. What I want you to do now is let us focus in on what happened last Tuesday. There was a press cabinet briefing at which the Minister of Tourism, who's the parliamentary representative for where St. John, I think, not St. John, St. Mark.
St. Mark.
Yeah, St. Mark. And you were one of the people there. Asking questions. Let's pick it up from there, from just before the post briefing ended.
If you don't mind, let me start before the press briefing started, because I did approach the Minister of Tourism and alert her that I was interested in getting a comment from her on the incident which happened at the St. Mark Secondary School. Now, the St. Mark community is enraged and outraged at an incident which happened there about a week and a half ago, where one child was chopped in the head after leaving school, and the community strongly feels that he would have been kept safe and the incident would have been avoided had the police arrived. Now, the police, I have been able to confirm that the police was called at least 4 times by the school and by neighbors in the area. You know, up in St. Mark's, we try to come to each other's rescue. But the police said they had no transportation. Now they're 10 minutes away from the school. They could have commandeered a vehicle. They could have got there, and the community is angry. And so I felt that as the representative for the area and being responsible for paying attention to the resources that are available for St. Mark and so on, that I would ask Dr. Modeste to comment on what had happened and probably try to offer an explanation to her people as to why such a thing happened at the St. Mark Secondary School. So I alerted her when the news conference, before it started, I went to the head table and she said to me, okay. And I asked one question to her when the question period came. It had to do with small hoteliers not being interested in a government loan that's available to them. They're not taking it, and she was concerned about that. And so I had a question on that, which I asked. Now, reporters before me were able to ask 3-4 questions. After that first question I asked, I wasn't given an opportunity to ask a second question. In fact, the press secretary, Philomena Robertson, simply interrupted as I was about to continue asking questions of the Minister of Tourism to take questions from an online forum. And for me, that was rude and out of order, but it's par for the course with the press secretary for the last few months. She's been doing that a lot at the news conferences.
I've noticed.
And so I was not given an opportunity to ask more questions during the briefing. But once it was over, I approached the minister and I said to her, can we talk about the issue now? And she said, okay. I asked her the question and she was just about to begin responding to me. My recorder was out, it was rolling, when we were interrupted by the Minister of Information, who told her, do not answer that question. CALISTRA should ask her questions during the press briefing. No, I have a problem with that for various reasons. What the government is doing is, number one, you're denying people a right to an exclusive. If every question you have must be addressed nationally before you can write a story, it defeats the purpose of an exclusive. And Beverly will tell you an exclusive matters to a journalist. So that's one thing. And so he decided that she shouldn't answer, but she said to him, and of course I have all this on audio, I have an audio version of all this. Unfortunately, I was not using video that day. And she said to him, are you sure you don't want me to answer that question? I don't mind answering. I can, I can. And she kept lingering in the room and trying to negotiate with him, but he sort of herded her out the door. And she was still standing on the outside of the room, and I'm on the inside, and he places himself in the doorway and blocks my exits, prevents me from stepping outside. And he was very agitated at that time, and she's talking to him. Obviously, the minister had no interest in answering my question. For 20-something years, I have interviewed doctors, and she's never refused me an interview in the past, mind you. And wanted, this is an incident she wanted to talk about. And so she was at the doorway trying to convince him that he should remove himself from the situation and allow her to speak. But he was adamant that she ought not to answer CALISTRA's questions. And I was pursuing the situation. I had my recorder out, and I'm thinking, what, she may get through. This senior minister may prevail in the presence of this junior minister at some point. So I'll be prepared to record her. And but that did not happen. Instead, the senator took certain measures that resulted in me falling down. And even as I was going backwards, he began to mount a defense, in my opinion, because he immediately started to shout. The normal thing would be, and particularly, anyone, but a man in particular, seeing a woman toppling over me, want to reach out and try to break a fall or even help her up. But the senator did not do that. He started ranting at me and calling me a liar and revoking devils and all of that. It was, I have seen a lot, and I've been through a lot on this journey of journalism in Grenada. I mean, I've worked elsewhere, but here in Grenada, it's particularly strange sometimes. But Tuesday was the strangest. I'd never encountered such unprofessional behavior, such wanton behavior at the hands of someone who is in the parliament, for heaven's sake. And it was, what gets me, it was totally uncalled for. You have to know when to pick a fight with the media. And picking a fight with the media then didn't make sense, because what the minister was going to do was get the opportunity to clear the air on something that the people who voted her into office are very angry at right now. And he stopped that from happening. I look at it as a way of killing an elephant to try to get at a fly, which really doesn't make a lot of sense.
All right, you mentioned something about invoking spirits. I think it's all over social media that he was casting spirits out of you. I want you to explain to me exactly what this gentleman was saying.
Well, he said, I revoke this evil spirit, CALISTRA. I revoke this evil spirit. You're a demon. And he kept repeating that. Yes, he kept repeating that over and over. And I see a photo that's going around, which people with their own interests are suggesting was the initial encounter, but this was not the initial encounter. This was me trying to help myself up at that point, because I'd been flat on my back on the floor, and he was standing over me, shouting down at me. So this is me trying to get back up now, and of course, I'm trying to keep my recorder as close as possible, because he wasn't going to stop ranting, it appeared, and I wanted to record everything. And he noticed that I wasn't surrendering my recorder and trying to capture everything he was saying, and he actually threatened and said, put me on anything and you're gonna find out, or something like that, which seemed to suggest that he was telling me, if you dare report this, I would take action against you.
What action? Sorry, I'm not the interviewer here, but This is raising my blood pressure, CALISTRA.
Well, you know, the Grenada Informer has a front page story on this because, of course, the Informer did cover the issue. They have a front page story on it. And when the editor called Senator Garraway to get his side of the story and to get a comment, he was threatened with legal action. He was told if they wrote the story, he would sue them.
Oh my!
I believe they were planning to include that. I haven't read the story yet. I spent Friday at the hospital for hours and didn't get a chance to get a newspaper. So I believe they were planning to include that in the piece that they were doing as well. The senator's threats of legal action if the story was broadcast.
Claudette?
Yes, you know, CALISTRA, for the benefit of the public, I would like if you can explain to us a bit more how you landed on the ground, how you got to the ground, because you did not go into those details here. But
because given that I am pursuing this through formal channels, I was wondering whether or not discussing the details of what happened at this point might be prudent.
Well,
You know,
I don't think that there would be any harm. I imagine you would be given a consistent version throughout.
Oh, of course. I what happened is imprinted on my mind, and I certainly there's no need for various versions. I was just wondering, but you are the lawyer, and if you say that it is okay, I am going to. Here's $1. You're retained. Well, you know, the senator lifted his arm. He lifted his arm like this. I'm standing behind him, and he lifts his arm like this, and he starts, CALISTRA, watch. And he shoves me back like this. And
I can't see you. I can't see you.
You didn't? You're not seeing me? So his body weight.
George still has me on.
No, go to your display. Go to your display. Yeah, and go where the squares are and click on that and you'll see everybody.
No, I don't have the squares. I guess I have a different. Go ahead. That's enough.
Yeah. So you know, he lifted his arm and rotated it, you know, backwards on me, and so his body weight and his arm and everything came on me, and I toppled backwards.
Okay. So that's why I'm asking, because what we have to consider from a legal standpoint is whether, in fact, a battery was committed. Definitely an assault. He did assault you just by his words. Words and gestures can constitute an assault. And based on what you described, I believe you were assaulted and certainly battered by him using his body parts to throw you to the ground. You know, so I don't know on what basis he would be threatening either you or any media house with legal action. That's complete ignorance, and I use ignorance in the correct context here. Because from what you've described, I don't hear the minister to be having any legal leg to stand on. On the contrary, he should be. I hope he didn't make a criminal complaint, and he should be prosecuted criminally and in the civil courts as well. That's my view. This is ridiculous, and the fact that so far nobody from the government has said anything. The assault was committed in the presence of the press secretary, who's herself a woman, in the presence of the minister. Why are they so silent? Can they condemn the unlawful act of their colleague?
Well, you know, Claudette, when you look at the photograph, you know, they're refusing to use the video. I've been told by media people and, you know, people who are discussing it behind the scenes that they are waiting a response from the minister in order to do a story. Now, this was Yes.
You're awaiting a response from the minister to do
before they will do anything. Yes.
What media house was that?
All of them, I suppose. But the thing about they all called for interviews. WeFM, I gave them an interview. I gave GBN an interview as well. but they are holding on to the story until they can get the minister to give his side of it. I'm not sure why he hasn't given his side of it as yet. He started giving his side of it even before I hit the ground. So I'm wondering about the delay and the reluctance. And of course, the situation was videotaped by GBN. And the fact is, the person who was behind the camera doing the videotaping is an executive member of the Media Workers Association. The president of the Media Workers Association was in the room. So people were there and they saw what happened, and there is no hindrance, no normal hindrance to doing this story and presenting the facts as they appear. I have no fear or no worry at all about the story being reported. And in fact, what saddens me is not that, the law and my lawyers and so will be the ones that I look to in this situation, not necessarily the members of the media as an individual, but as a journalist in this country. This is one of the worst periods for us. They have given the worst account of themselves ever. I am embarrassed to say that I'm a member of the Grenada Media Corp because this is not how journalists operate. If what they saw makes me look bad, it doesn't matter. Report it. Obviously, it doesn't, and that's probably one of the reasons why everybody's hush-hush and doing the stories in chat rooms instead of, coming out and giving the public some information. I cannot do the story. I am a subject of the story, so I cannot do it. But they should do it wherever the facts lead. The story must be written, no matter what. The story must be written. And the minute you decide you're holding a story for any other reason except that you cannot verify the information that you have,
exactly.
We have a problem. We have a problem. We have disappointed the country and we've let the people down.
CALISTRA, one of the things I understand is that a significant portion of the executive of MWAG, including the president and vice president, are government employees, whether public officers or by contract. And that situation, if it's correct, is a major problem because immediately they are in a conflicted position where they would naturally fear for their jobs if they report certain matters. In the Bar Association, for example, lawyers who work with the state are not allowed, I can't remember whether it's in our bylaws or it's by convention, but they are not allowed to sit on the executive of the Bar Association, although they are invited to participate in all activities of the Bar Association. And perhaps that is what should obtain with the Media Workers Association, because how could you be independent when your executive members are beholden to the state?
Well, we are discussing that now. A few people who are not particularly happy about the direction things have taken are discussing it now. They are finally beginning to realize the dangers of what we allow to happen. And a lot of it had to do with not participating. One of the first things that happened was that the politicians came after MWAG from within. It was our own members who were used in order to manipulate and corner MWAG into the situation that we are in right now. And at the time, people like to be popular and belong to the interesting and the beautiful people crowd. And I think people bought into that, I had the minister's number and people were calling me and people asking me for favors and people were willing to do the favors. And what ended up happening was that MWAG is now controlled by people who ought not to have control of such a sensitive association that will inevitably go up against the government at some point or the other. And since 2013, there was this attempt to gain control of MWAG, and I watched it happen. I mean, the March 2013 general elections of officers for MWAG, the president was elected by nomination, not one vote was cast. And this was orchestrated on Blackberries were out in those days. Blackberries were popular, and we were just getting into the social media thing and people got their cues via messages on these phones as to when to nominate and when to went to move for nominations to cease and so on. And it was like a spitfire thing. And in under 15 seconds, the president was nominated unopposed. And from then it was downhill. From then we kept, and I think a lot of the people who really genuinely want MWAC to function properly and want journalism to be practiced properly in Grenada have taken a backseat. They've given up on the association. A lot of people have gone into different jobs because, you know, the media does not pay, really. So other people have gone into different jobs, people have traveled, and some people have just given up, even trying to help move anything forward. And so we find ourselves in a situation now where about 3 or 4 of our executive are, the Minister of Information is their boss, and the Minister of Information is now attacking press freedom. So what do? Do you pay for your car, or do you defend CALISTRA?
Let me ask you a question. Well, actually, I know that Bev has been trying to get in here for a little while. Bev, go ahead with your 2 cents before I fire off this question.
Okay, well, I was trying to come in way back from Don't Go There conversation, because I know we have a Integrity in Public Life Act, which also addresses some areas of conflict of interest, which we have heard. And if the marital status of people in public life was supposed to be personal and private matters, then why would there be an outcry about the marital status of the head of the FIU, say, because he's married to a minister? How would the public know that that is supposed to be a concern? Other marriages which have raised some kind of concern among people in members of the public. So it cannot be a public figure, especially when you have an Integrity in Public Life Act and other laws that talk about public relationships, and you want to keep your married life and who is your wife a secret. It's just not done. So that is what I wanted to add in there. But listening to this whole conversation with CALISTRA and these things, that I really feel sad for journalism in Grenada, because there are really no independent media houses in Grenada. I guess you would say, except for the New Today, which gets a lot of bashing from the public, from certain sectors of the public again, because of their stance and approach to journalism. If you do not do public relations for the government, and by extension, the governing party, you know, you are just vilified and treated in the way that CALISTRA is being treated. And I have seen several examples of where CALISTRA is out doing her work, and it's like she comes under attack. She came under attack during the election campaign when the swings were being put up in that community there in Murray. She was physically attacked. What came of it? Again, it was members and supporters of the New National Party, which is now the governing party in Grenada, that did that. And there is just no effort to establish any sort of credibility at the level of government in terms of these actions. The Prime Minister the other day made a big brouhaha about his security and protection of his life and himself. What about the rest of the citizens in the country? And especially us as women, we're just supposed to go about taking beatings from these people in public office. And there is nothing to be done about it. We can't have private security that we decide can't go and leave because we need them with us everywhere we go. We are left at the mercy of the same police force that he doesn't have and that we have no control over. We cannot command them for personal safety. So where does that leave us in the media? Where does that leave us as women? Where do we go for protection of ourselves to give us that freedom which the Constitution gives us to do our work?
You finished, Bev?
For now, yes.
All right, Jerry, your take.
I made some things here, George, that just has me completely amazed. And if they weren't this serious, I'd be amused. But they are not amusing issues. at all. I mean, a minister of government has committed clearly some kind of trespass against this journalist and has the gall to be calling out demons. I find, listen to me. I find that utterly amazing. But worse, I think, is the fact that you have somebody of the level of a United States ambassador who is willing to respond to questions, because a United States ambassador understands the role of the media, and she knows her place when it comes to that in her land. And so she comes with that same thinking and knows that a journalist has the right to ask her questions about her work. And a minister of government, through whom she has the right, the government, to be in Grenada, stops her from answering. I mean, anybody.
But Jerry, let me interrupt. There were two incidents. The one with Ambassador Tagliatella, she went ahead and she said I will and answered, and because she is not Grenadian, I think, and this involved Nicholas Steele and the press secretary, and this was the week before. Now, last week Tuesday, it involved the Minister of Grenadian,
right.
Minister of Tourism, and the Minister of Information interrupted. So there were two attempts.
No, I understand. I'm coming to the second case.
Oh,
I got
okay.
it. Yeah,
sorry.
I got it.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Go to the clarification. So here you have an ambassador willing to answer, but is being interrupted and obstructed by a member of the parliament of the country through which this right is given. I mean, seriously. And then you asking a question of a member of a constituency, a member of parliament, and the minister thinks he has a right to interrupt and to tell her whether she could answer or not. But then again, that's where the minister, the member of parliament herself should be introduced. She had a right to answer. She doesn't have to wait for a minister of information to tell her to answer on behalf of her constituents. There's a lot of foolishness that is happening in our parts that people are getting away with. She has a responsibility to answer you on behalf of the people she represents. She doesn't have to get permission from a minister, junior minister, to answer that. I mean, that is just ridiculous. But the fact that that this minister thinks that he can go to this degree and do this, listen, it is outrageous. I remember an experience that I was a witness to with the same minister who was in an event, all right, an official function, and dared to mention two opposing sides, the Chinese and the Taiwanese. And the representative got up and left the room. It tells me that this minister either has no sense of occasion, decorum, or something, because he did something that ought not to be done in diplomatic circles. I was there. And from then I've been questioning is he for real? Because she got up, she was at the head table, and she left the table as a clear sign that she objected to what he had just done. This minister needs to be reined in, and if he's not trained to understand the business in which he is in, something ought to be done. But let me go to the question of regulation in our region. And you spoke to the point, Claudette, good morning, of the lawyers understanding that if you're a lawyer working for the government, that you might be conflicted and therefore ought not to take certain positions. But all of regulation in this region is questioned.
All right, I think Jerry is frozen.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Let me, Claudette, just let me share something that just came in here a little while ago on WhatsApp. I mean, this keeps going from the sublime to the ridiculous. I have a note here on WhatsApp from the editor of the New Today newspaper, and he says to me that GBN asked him for an interview on the subject matter. which he gave, but they did not air it. Apparently, the story was killed.
I hope you have a lot of listeners this morning, George, so that people could understand the dire straits we are in this country. We have a situation. We have 3 official arms of government, which is recognized constitutionally. And we have the 4th unofficial arm, which universally in all democratic societies is acknowledged and recognized as the free press, free and independent press. Right? We have an absolute majority in the parliament. And we know in some quarters, people are convinced that that ought not to have been the case, but it is the case. We have a government that absolutely controls and manipulates our electoral process. We have a situation where the executive is not carrying out its constitutional duties to ensure that the judiciary is financed and functioning. Because so far, the judiciary is the only arm that they have not been able to control and bring under their wing. So what are they doing? Since early May 2018, we have not had high court facilities in Grenada. So the judiciary is handicapped. It's not functioning. Judges and lawyers are functioning against all odds in makeshift courts and going out of their way to try to hear matters. Meanwhile, we have a backlog. Right? The Bar Association recently filed a lawsuit against the state in relation to this matter. And of course, the lawsuit hasn't been heard yet because we have no courts. So we're going into 2 years now. Then you have the account, that CALISTRA just gave. We all suspect it, we all know it, we speak about it, but to hear a member of the press corps outline factually that the state is controlling and manipulating the press to the point of determining who sits on the executive. It made my blood crawl. It's chilling. So I don't know what more people need to hear, to open up their eyes and forget about who you support, who you like. This particular, and it's not the first time I've heard instances of this particular minister and others threatening the press. I know, listen, the National Democratic Congress, we do a weekly column, send it to all the newspapers. And we have the print media, we have 3 of them, we send it to all, only one prints it. Sometimes the Informer prints it. Not all the time, but only one consistently prints it. That's the new today. We send it online and your site prints it and publishes it, George, and now Grenada. This is a serious matter we are facing in Grenada.
Yep.
How could you have a journalist being assaulted by a minister of information and that is not news? How could that not be news?
Well, it could not be back, folks. It could not be used because they recognize the how inflammatory it is, and therefore they don't want it to be used. But my quick question is:
we have no independent media in Grenada at this point.
Yeah, but hold on. Is there any contact with the regional association? No, not that.
That's what I was getting to.
There's a Caribbean Association of Media Workers. You mean they haven't thought about this either? You see, these are the things that tells us that we have a lot of form but no substance. Go ahead, Beverley.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, Beverley was going, because I was going to say on the Caribbean Association last year, when I was assaulted by the political operatives at the MONGOOSE site, and I attempted to bring the attention to the matter to the attention of ACM, and apparently they had been given their own version of what was going on by local media people. And apparently they were told that somehow being a freelancer and being an independent journalist had lost its status for that period where I was not supposed to have standing because I was not associated with a media house as a staff reporter.
Are
And,
you serious?
Oh yeah, I did try to realizing that MWAG, understanding the situation MWAG was in because I watched it happen. I felt that getting the Association of Caribbean Media Workers on this would help to advance the cause because it's not just what happens to me as an individual, but what's going to happen to media in Grenada if we continue to let these things happen. There will be another CALISTRA. There will be somebody else who's willing to do their job beyond all of the issues. And once the door is open, then we are going to find ourselves in a lot of problems. And so I wanted it to be pursued, but it turns out that ACM had already had formed an opinion on the situation based on what they were told.
They see the video. There was a video.
You know what's interesting with this is that now there's no video now. There is a video, but it seems to have, I understand someone said to me it's on they use the word it's on the lock and key engineer. But there was a video the last time, and
there was a video the last time, yeah.
But people were still convinced that I was wrong.
What was they were convinced. They were convinced what was in the video didn't happen.
There were people who were convinced that somehow I had quoted this, and that simply by showing up and recording an unfolding event, I ought not to have done that.
Did they know it happened in your yard? Did they know it happened in your yard? Your community?
In my community, and I didn't even know you were there. And a neighbor said, knowing that I do media, they wanted it publicized. And interestingly thought it. Let me just say this, give this little story here, George. A woman who is a staunch supporter of the NNP. She has Peter David's photograph on her fridge and flags in her vases at home. She's that serious about it. But she's the one who sent to call me to say to me that you were putting up a swing and that I should come and get photographs to put it in the newspaper because they were so happy about it. And this is how I actually ended up there because I had no idea you were doing this up there. And it was one of their people who wanted it publicized, and I came there and realized that a lot more was happening than just the swing thing for the community, that I saw a full out political battle in process. And there's absolutely no way, you know what, knock my tablet out of my hand again if you want to, but there's absolutely no way I am coming up on this kind of news and not covering it. The story was so much bigger than a swing. And but people saw this, and still it came down to I should have complied when I was told do not record me. And I can't. If I'm going to put my recorder between my legs and run at the first sign that someone threatens me and says don't do the story, then I might as well go ask the Prime Minister for 10 days on the road. I'm in the wrong profession.
By the way, Claudette, there are a couple of comments here that I think you need to hear. First of all, John Crow Alexander says, Claudette, no publication is required to or obligated to print your release. And I think that is echoed by Margaret Francis. She says, Claudette, a newspaper is not obligated to print your article.
I guess that's why they don't print it. But that doesn't preclude me from pointing out the fact that it is sent and they don't print it. And I will share this further fact. I inquired of certain of the houses who don't print it. Why? And I was told they were instructed not to, because it comes from the voice of the opposition. I am making a bigger point here, Margaret and John Crow, that our fourth estate, the independent media, the group of people who sees to the protection of our fundamental right in Section 10 of the Constitution to free speech, they are under attack. Open your eyes. That's the point, bigger point I'm making.
Yeah.
But also too, our obligation to balance and fairness. I have noticed, not that I'm trying to get in the middle of the politics because I'm not, but I noticed that other political parties who offer up their pieces, it's published. And so if we're going to not publish any at all, we are not obligated to publish. But then we have a duty that if we're going to give one the platform, then we must give the other the platform. I always remember several years ago at The Voice, Leslie Pierce's paper, there was a time when he was personally opposed to the NDC. And but I did two stories, one on the NNP and one on the NDC. Their rallies, the last big rally that you have before the general election. And he placed them both on the front page because he said he didn't have a choice. So they shared the front page, one photograph of the NDC, one of the NNP, and the two headlines on the newspaper. And the NDC at one point could not get on the front page of The Voice. But at that point, he understood that in the interest of balance and fairness, I think Bev may remember this. I think you were there already. And they shared the front page. And this was considered remarkable in Grenada at the time. But we have to have balance. We have to have balance in the way we do it.
Exactly.
Yes.
And when you have politicians interfering in the operation of private media houses, such as our newspapers are, by intimidating them not to publish information from certain sources. I don't care who you support. I don't care who you support, who you vote for when you go in that ballot box. You must be concerned when this thing happens. You must be.
Jerry,
it's not about who you support.
Yeah, because I mean, we really need to have a serious conversation about what the media is, its function, and responsibilities. I see it everywhere. And let me tell you something. In Dominica this week, right? A person from one media house called out to another person on another media house, threatening to kill them. That happened this week. I think it's on Wednesday this week in Dominica. Again, because of party politics. And if anything is destroying our region, is this partisan politics. The party issue is what is destroying our region. He called out from one station on air and threatened to kill another announcer who was also on him. I mean, we have to have a serious conversation about the media, its role, its functions, its responsibility. And there are too many people who are just getting in. I know there are people who all they want to do is to be able to get the number of the Prime Minister. And after that, them is God. They know that the Prime Minister could call them. I have been in press conferences where when you ask a probing question, you hear the murmurs in the room. When you ask them, you understand? And clearly, there's a complete takeover, subtly maybe, of what the media ought to be and ought to do.
You know, this will probably be my final comments because we're coming up on George's end time. But it's two-pronged for me. Number one, and this is not order of priority, it's just two prongs. One is the attack on the media, and the other is the attack on women, the institutionalized attack on women in Grenada that I see. Because we have some women's groups and some women's advocates here. When these people in positions of authority and power abuse and attack women, you hear nothing from them. Nothing. And it concerns me deeply because as a woman, I do not ever want to be faced going to an office or approaching some official and find myself being hit because they know they can get away with it. And when systems fail, you can't report it to the police. I saw some in the public domain, which is purported to have come from the police, which is a report that they say CALISTRA made. And I'm like, if CALISTRA went to the police and made a report, why is this thing out in the public? When did that begin to happen? So if we as women cannot find any place of protection because abuse institutionalized in the country, then I can't say these words on George's program, but we are like grass ready for the fire. And second to that, because the media has been crippled, there is no media to report on these things. The systems are broken, they are not working, and the media cannot report on it because I hear the stories about who called who, which person in the political realm pick up their phone and call people in the newsrooms and tell them what to do and what to kill. And they pull reporters over the coals. Reporters do good stories, and these stories can never see the light of day because somebody, whether it's the press secretary or some doctor or some senator or somebody is gonna call up the media house and say this story cannot go or it cannot go this way. And this you hear they're talking about, oh, you have to get the other side of the story. Getting the other side of the story is not just sitting down and waiting on some minister to tell you thing. There are journalists actively reporting on a story. Getting that side of the story doesn't mean you have to get it today. It means to follow up on it and present the other side. But if you never get the other side, what are you going to do? You have verified information, but you can't publish it because you don't have somebody else to speak on it. Publish what you have. If the other side wishes to speak, they will. If they don't wish to speak, they don't. You cannot kill a story on the basis of getting the other side. There is, as a practicing journalist for years, there is getting the other side and there is getting the other side. And sometimes, especially now in this kind of environment, public officials will refuse from speaking to you because they know you are not going to air except they speak to you. And the stories are killed, people are not informed, and the systems are broken and it's getting worse. And we are going down a road that we are not going to be able to come back from when we the slides and the media is handled.
But you know, interestingly, the other side that everyone seems to be searching for, the ministers, I was reliably informed that he appeared on Andre Donald's radio station, I believe the morning after or Thursday morning, to speak about it. Now, this is in a comfortable, insulated environment, but he is not giving the other side to the news media to allow it to be aired in the news. And it's different if the news is going to carry an issue or if someone is going to talk about it in a friendly environment on a radio station.
Exactly, and the news media refuse from publish and adding the rider that the minister has either refused or they have been unable to reach him. That is something you do. You are in news. If you are trying to reach someone for a response and you can't, you will put it in your story that I made phone call to this person or I visited the office and this is what transpired. This is why I didn't get any comment or any response from them. That's news.
Let me point out something here, because there's always this question of the use of social media in the reporting issues and people play it down. You know why we're having this conversation this morning? Because of social media. If it was the original media, the story had done dead. Because the gatekeepers would look, we don't see what the gatekeepers doing even in the face of social media. The gatekeepers are just not doing anything. And so sometimes we have to understand the power and the reach and what social media gives us. Yes, we have issues, but I always put it this way. If a story goes out and by the time the fifth person comments on it, you get a sense of what the real story is. So I'm not frightened for this, but we are having this conversation because this matter has been aired on social media. Other than that, the story was dead. And I feel that a lot of our politicians around the region still haven't understood that social media has taken away the dagger from their hand. Let's just take it away. And the sooner they get to understand that the fact that they're in a certain position and can block it doesn't stop the discussion, the sooner they get to understand that, things might change. But this question of MWAC, for example, if this was any other union, whether CALISTRA was right or wrong, The union has a right to defend her. You might pull CALISTRA in a corner in the room and give she some choice words, but the union has a responsibility to speak to the issue. But we have too many people stepping forward for these positions who have no right in there. And I'm sorry, I'm not even saying that with water in my mouth. They have no right there because many of them are cowardly, all right, and don't want to treat the issues that should be treated with, you know, because they're afraid they're not going to get the next trip, or they won't get invited to the next whatever, and that's what's keeping them. And that's why CALISTRA finds herself in a wilderness when supposedly there's so many other people around us who should stand up for her.
Exactly.
All right, guys, it's just a little after 12 o'clock, and I intend to go a little bit over time this afternoon, but there's something here I want to share with you guys. John out there says he's making a suggestion, and let's start thinking about the way forward. John says no media should attend the post-cabinet briefings. We wouldn't be any worse off.
But that's not going to happen because these people feel the need to be there, because if they're not, somebody's going to phone them and says, where were you? And they better have a good excuse.
All right.
And
go ahead, Bev.
If these media houses refuse from reporting a story as big as a senator and a journalist in confrontation, if they refuse from reporting that, you think any of them gonna boycott?
Exactly. That's it.
Nah, not happening.
Look as big as the US the other day when the president wanted to have tanks and stuff as part of the July 4th parade. What did the big media was tell him? We're not covering it. You understand? So the media has power, and the media has a way to censor these people. But as I say, until we have the discussion about the real purpose of the media as the fourth estate in our societies, we're not going to go anywhere. Not going to go anywhere.
People need to
CALISTRA, so tell us again, what action have you now taken, and how far do you intend to go with this?
Well, I have one of the first things I did was report the matter to the police. I made an official complaint to the police, and I was injured. My hip, I'm in a lot of pain actually. Nights are worse, and so X-rays are being done, and I've had a grievous harm form filled out by the government doctor and so on, and all of that has to do with the police criminal complaint. I noticed, as someone mentioned on here, that there's a report going around which is supposed to be the report that I made to the police. I myself saw it, and certain aspects of it that have been doctored. When I read it, I believe that it comes from a police source, but some of the information in it has been changed to create contradictions, like the time that the incident occurred is now different in that version. But certain little things in just the wording and the format of police reports kind of thing, and I can tell that it would have come from what I gave to the police this week, and the report of where I was struck and what actually happened, that has been changed a little bit as well. So,
no,
but
hold on, CALISTRA, please, hold on. You say that it looks like
but
report,
Jerry, it's not on any official police documentation or anything like that. Okay,
it doesn't have to be.
But no, so no, I'm just making that clear. But the wording of it and certain aspects of it, which is exactly what I would have said, and some of the details that I had not given to anybody else, that was just given to the police, is there. But then some key pieces of it have been changed to create contradiction, and that the grievous harm paper that they give you, that yellow form that you're given, it states the complaint, my initial complaint, it's on there. So, and that doesn't add up to some of what is now going around social media. So I have no doubt that the police either spoke with someone, read this out to someone, or let someone see the complaint in the diary, or something of that, or took a photograph of it and sent it out. The police made it available. I have no doubt about that.
Incredible.
Yes.
Wow.
But whether or not what the police still has on their record still matches what they gave me to take to the doctor, I don't know. But it doesn't match what's on social media. Which
I'll tell you this. In Trinidad this last week, it was found out that the leader of the opposition was able to tell a government minister that she was going to be arrested before the prime minister.
Yeah.
Our region is scary, you know.
There was a leak from the police. The AG of Trinidad is saying that it would have been a police leak. So while the Prime Minister, Minister of National Security, and the AG did not know that this person was going to be arrested, the leader of the opposition did.
And called the minister
And
to
called
her
the
told her.
person to let them know that they will be arrested.
Boy, this region is we always estimate the wrong things, eh?
We're not in a good place as a region.
Not at all.
And our people, I don't know, our people, for the most part, they're turning a blind eye to these.
It's not a fet, Claudette. It's not a fet. Call them to a fet and they know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I didn't hear that, Jerry.
I say call them to a fet and they know everything. Anything else they don't care. Our is in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Our actual existence is in jeopardy.
You see, and that's why we need people like CALISTRA. We need people like George Grant. George does not talk a lot about the extent of victimization that he had to endure here, simply for reporting or having free and balanced news magazine programs, right? But we need people like you guys. We need newspapers like the New Today, which in my mind, is about the only newspaper that continues to publish all the news from whatever source, we are in a bad way. And what is happening is that they create public enemies. So you look at some of the comments on this instance, and they're attacking CALISTRA, her personality, or whatever. They're making up stuff. They're getting personal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And skirting the real big issue. Skirting the issue that we are in all kind of trouble here. So the issue is CALISTRA, the issue is George Worm, the issue is this one, I'm not really addressing the fact that our democracy is dying. We have it only in name.
Claudette, I
But in
disagree with you.
reality, it's dying.
Claudette, I disagree with you. In many instances, I think it's dead. It's just a waiting the burial announcement.
Oh, not dying. I like
I'm
to be
serious.
positive. I like to be optimistic.
Well, what
If
I
it
see
is dying,
worries me.
if it is dying, we still have an opportunity to arrest the
I
situation
hear you.
and to
Like
bring
your
it back.
optimism.
And with people like CALISTRA and so on, I wouldn't call it dead yet.
Jerry, I kept that hand that was holding onto my recorder high in the hopes that day, Tuesday, was not going to be the final nail in the coffin. So we continue to.
Amen.
For my part, my jurisdiction is press freedom and ensuring that the public continues to have the information. And I'm going to continue to do that amid all the the threats. You have the supporters of the ruling party threatening me and so on, and people, the police as well. A lot, Claudette was saying George doesn't talk a lot about some of the victimization that he has endured. I don't either, because I've always felt that the journalists must not be the news. We write the news, but we must not be the news. And so a lot of things happen and you keep it quiet because you move on to the next story and serving of the cause of the public's right to know and public interest. But a lot of things are happening there. And it's you try to get the better of someone, and if you're not succeeding, you go harder, and until it got to the point that it did on Tuesday, when the minister was so invested in ensuring that the minister didn't talk to me, that he would have committed what I am claiming is an assault on me.
And you see, CALISTRA, I'm glad you mentioned you try to get the bed cover person, because I don't know how many people listening understand the build up to what occurred. From the time you asked the Prime Minister that question, which elicited an inappropriate response from him, telling you don't go there, then you had the following week or 2 weeks thereafter, the press secretary upbraiding and chastising the media about being professional, etc. And that clearly, to those of us on the outside listening, that clearly stemmed from your question to the Prime Minister. Then you had the following week an attempt to stop you from asking the ambassador of the United States, or the ambassador to Grenada and the OECS, an appropriate question, right? Where the ambassador herself had to interject and said, no, I'm going to answer the question. And then the following week, you had this incident where it became physical. So it was not an isolated, what listeners have to answer, not an isolated occurrence. It was a build-up. And when these things happen, we need to stand up as responsible citizens, forgetting all the politics. I'm disappointed. I don't know, people may consider me naive to say that I am disappointed that to date, none of the female ministers, none of Mr. Gawe's female colleagues have come out and said, well, look, we're not condoning this kind of thing. We think it was inappropriate. This is violence against women. We are not going to condone this. We've heard nothing from Gino and our Conference of Churches, who seem to be very selective when they comment on matters of public interest. They're very selective. It's disgusting. Actually, it's quite disgusting.
Let me ask you guys.
Well, but you know, when you look at the photograph, you see Dr. Modeste, her reaction. I mean, I'm down on the ground, but she turns her face and blocks, shields her eyes.
You know, she's like, this is bad, you know? She has a very experienced lady. And what?
I guess she doesn't want to be called as a witness.
Let me ask you guys something. Could we do a little brainstorming here? You know, it's one thing for us to sit here and bitch about all the evils of this place, and in this particular case, I'd like us to focus on the need for a proper media corps. Media has let us down big time in this country. I think everybody agrees on that. Now, you have a bunch of youngsters in the media today who think they know everything. I've been in this business 47 years. Some of these kids came in 6 months ago. They know more than I do. All right? We need an alternative to the so-called media association that we have today. Is it possible to have two associations in the same, for example, the same island? Claudette?
That happens in some places.
It is, Jerry?
Yeah, that happens. I can't remember, but I'm for sure that happens in some places.
Yeah, it is possible, and it's not, because it creates division.
Yes, it creates
and
problems.
then and what happens is that the one that comes up in response to, for instance, we have a second association here, and obviously in response to attempts by the government to suppress and oppress us, then you may find that the government may not want to engage us, and only recognize MY. So I think what we need to do is, MWAG has a constitution, and what we need to do is to call a general meeting and call for the changing of the rules of MWAG, to call for the immediate resignation of the people on MWAG who work with government, not resignation from the association. Obviously, their media workers are entitled to membership, but on the executive, because the management team, the leadership team of the executive will be called upon from time to time to deal
But
with issues.
CALISTRA, do you think the government can allow that to happen? You think them guys gonna bow out? Joke you making.
Well, it's about numbers, and what I do know is that there are more people on the outside of MWAG who are entitled to membership who are not happy with what's going on, George. Very, very upset with what's happening.
Yeah, but if they won't get involved, nothing can
The
change.
issue here is, well, I think the issue here is mobilization, and people want to get involved and want to make the change. But we need the George Grants and the George Worms and the Paul Roberts of the country to step forward as well and bring the weight of their experience, both their experience as journalists and their experience in the struggle of being oppressed and suppressed as they try to serve the cause of the people in their right to know.
What
And
say
we
you,
need to
Bev?
step forward.
No, I agree with CALISTRA. I don't qualify for membership because I wasn't born in Grenada. So
and even that is just nonsense.
is
You
just
talk about charity. You talk about
Yes,
charity. You talk about integration. You talk
Beverley,
about
that's a
freedom of
joke,
movements
right?
of journalists, and somebody talk that foolishness in a
But
bylaw.
we still have that in our constitution.
Yeah.
Yes, it was there. I remember when Ray was president or when Ray was on the executive.
Well, you know, we made some mistakes when we were forming MWAG, when we decided to limit membership to only born Grenadians and to open up membership to every chief cook and bottle washer in the media, so that if you're the cleaner, you can join MWAG instead of joining the Janitorials Association, where your interests, where your professional interests would lie. No, they called me a snob when I said so, but when we were forming MWAG, I said we cannot have an association that is open to the drivers and the cleaners and the office attendants.
Yeah,
And
because
so they are
their
not.
interests are different.
Exactly.
Yes, they're different.
But you cannot be a journalist in because you're from another country and you're
Right.
practicing, and
So
you're not allowed. And the
is
same. Hold on, Bev. And the same media is going to write and talk about the things of integration and CARICOM. The same media.
Right.
I mean, we just have to stop this nonsense, eh?
That's great. But Beverley, how long have you been in Grenada?
Oh gosh, almost 20 years.
I mean, give me a break.
You see?
Exactly.
I still laugh about it.
But Beverley, people from Yemen and Syria and Iran are Grenadians. Why are you not a Grenadian by now? When she wants to be one of us?
You mean she must buy a passport?
I was about to tell her, say, I don't have the people from Yemen money, you know.
She's been here long enough to get one without going through those channels.
Guys, let me throw something in at you.
Investment.
Hello. Hang on a sec. Responding to what we were just discussing here, there's a note from Margaret Francis. Margaret says, and this is in response to my question about whether or not you can have one association. She says, yes, you can. There are multiple such organizations in the United States. You need a journalist organization that addresses journalism issues specifically. MWAG cannot adequately address journalistic issues.
This is all well and good to cite the United States. It's a much bigger space than we have.
That's a totally different landscape.
Totally different.
Yeah. But while I do not qualify for membership in MWAG, that has not prevented me over the years for supporting causes. MWAG, not at all. But MWAG, especially over the last 10 years, has just faded to black. You know, as we say in production, when you're coming to the end of a production, you fade to black. And MWAG is just fading to black because you do not hear the voice of MWAG on issues anymore. Don't. And what CALISTRA has suggested for some of the senior journalists who may be, even though they may be in different positions in life, but are still concerned about what's happening in the media, that could be the foundation for getting back some action and some advocacy and some activity into MWAG, because they still qualify for membership in MWAG. So it's not enough to just sit on the sidelines and criticize and look at it and talk about the distress, but put some work into it. See the journalist, retired journalists, get in there. It's about CALISTRA, as you say. And if there are people willing to take up certain positions in MWAG, then it will happen. You know, it will happen. The constitution of MWAG outlines the executive is supposed to be formed. And there can be a change in the executive. And I do believe that the current executive, they should seriously consider stepping down because they cannot fulfill the role that MWAG should because of their employment. And we do understand it's the reality, it's the job. So you cannot do both. You have to give up something. Give up the executive hold you have on MWAG and leave it to people who are able to advocate for the cause of journalism, because we cannot afford for the fourth estate. You just can't. You can't afford for every single media house to become a public relations operative. And I am not just speaking for now, because if this becomes a feature, it does not matter which party forms the government. It doesn't matter who forms the government. It's going to be the same. We're talking about broken systems that need to be repaired. So I believe, and I would certainly join the call with CALISTRA for these senior people who, regardless of what they are doing and where they are, to become active in the preservation of journalism in Grenada and by extension the region, because we may think this is just a Grenada problem. It's not. Jerry cited the incident in Dominica, and it's terrible there as well. So we really need to get some advocacy going. We really need to put some work behind it, because without the media, without journalists, without journalism, how do we keep those who govern on their toes? How do we keep them accountable? We can't.
All right. So you said to start with CALISTRA's recommendation. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think it's a good place to start.
Which would be to remove the existing executive of NWAG.
And install an executive that's made up of people who are independent and who can advocate for journalists, and who can really bring some weight to bear on some of the things that are happening on the media landscape.
All right, Jerry, you agree on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Claudette?
Well, I'm not being a member of the fraternity, but I mean, objectively speaking, and in light of what I said in terms of how the Bar Association functions, I think it will be in order for the people who now serve for the government, whether as contract workers or standard public officers, if they are on the executive of MWAG, to step aside so that we can save the fourth estate. Step aside so that you have independent people who cannot be affected.
Claudette, these people are under the firm grip of government.
Exactly.
Do you think they're going to step aside?
Well, it's not that if they are going to judge.
Well, they should be made to. They should be made to. If they don't do so voluntarily, the general membership and those entitled to membership of MWAG should come together, because this is a crisis, as far as I'm concerned. It is a crisis, because already we don't have parliamentary account. We don't have an opposition in place in the parliament whereby government can be called on to account to the parliament. The fourth estate has to do that.
That's
the fourth estate has to do that. So I hope people understand the gravity of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And because the media is under such tremendous control by the powers that be, the main opposition party is not in the parliament and is blocked out for the most part. Its voice is blocked out for the most part. Our main media house, in which the people of Grenada still own shares, that's GBN. We've had a tough time. The opposition parties had a tough time with them.
But Claudette, didn't I hear recently that the President of the Senate also disallowed a certain aspect of a discussion in the Senate?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
This is something systemic, It is
the thing
systemic.
Is bad, George. The thing is bad.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is bad. The senators are being muzzled. They too must learn their privileges and their roles. Because and it was the workers' senator, the workers' senator raising a very relevant point.
But he didn't push it. He didn't push it.
But he backed down.
Exactly. That's the problem.
Because
it's a problem.
Claudette, I believe he should have force the president to
He
do.
should have.
Exactly.
He
He
should have.
Exactly my
Because
point.
this is a matter that his constituents, the workers of Grenada who he represents in the parliament, are interested in. Their
Of
salaries
course.
were docked, their pensions are being denied, and the Prime Minister singles out 14 of his chosen security officers and makes an illegal payment to them. And the workers' senator is denied discussing this matter in the parliament.
Crazy. Crazy.
By the president who himself was the workers' senator for many years. We are in a bad way in Grenada.
Thank you.
Can you imagine?
That last point you just made is so significant.
Yes. He got into the parliament through the workers, the current
Hold on a minute. Hold on. Somebody's got some kids making some noise there.
Kids will.
I have the kids making the noise, George. Asher, Mommy still
Kids are not
doing
going to respect this length
quiet,
of
thank
time
you.
being quiet.
Yeah.
It's part of the deal.
Children will be children.
Yes.
They're enjoying their swing, George.
Okay.
And look when.
Oh gosh.
All right, guys. I'll tell you what. 26 minutes after the hour. I mean, I really appreciate the fact that you've all taken the time to share with us this morning. This has been a bit of an eye-opener for me. And based on the reaction I'm seeing out there, people really appreciated what they heard. By and large, we do have the odd screwball showing up there, but they too are welcome. You know, we give them a voice. And that's what journalism is all about. I don't claim to be a journalist, but I'll tell you, I do respect the fact that everybody has a say, whether you agree with them or not. Okay, they do have the right to say. So let's see where we go from here. I heard some very encouraging things coming from you, CALISTRA, sort of supported by Claudette, Bev, and you, Jerry. So let's get together and plan the next step. What say you?
Agreed. And I say we have to have a bigger discussion, not just in Grenada, across the region, about the media and its role. I think this somehow we have missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to. We have to. It has gone too far already. Way too far. When a senator can abuse a journalist out in the public, we know it has gone way too far. Way too far.
All right. So on that note, let me say thank you very much. Who's coming to feed me today?
Who's that?
Who's coming to feed me? My face needs to be fed.
I was wondering the same thing, you know?
Margaret, joke you're making.
Yes, Margaret.
Margaret, busy today, boy. I think Margaret getting
Is she
ready.
about it, yeah? Oh, okay.
I think she getting ready for a wedding, eh?
Okay.
Yeah, man. I'm just sitting here wetting my diapers because she might tell me that she's the person getting married.
That's
Break
what's saying.
my
You
heart.
need to look at Tom to you,
But George,
Boy,
isn't today your birthday?
yes, today is my birthday.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Oh, well, happy belated birthday, George.
George, happy related indeed.
How does it feel to be 21 at last?
I am now old enough to drink beer.
I'm very happy birthday to you,
Is
George.
that a hint?
Thank you very much.
That you want beers?
I'm not a beer drinker. I'm not a beer drinker.
Oh, I
really.
see.
Old enough to have the car keys, but not even that. I mean, me ain't driving car, still riding donkey.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, guys.
Saving the environment too.
Hey, there's a note from Margaret. She says, George, you like confusion, eh? What did I do now? What did I do?
No, we want a disclaimer that it's not our wedding. That's what we want. Not like confusion. We need a disclaimer.
That's what
Margaret,
we want,
you just be careful of.
disclaimer. Okay.
Careful of the hearts you're breaking, Margaret.
I'm telling you.
Them hearts on edge, Margaret. Don't let them.
You got that, Mags? You got that? Thanks a lot, folks.
Thank you very much, George.
All right, thanks for having me, George.
I really hope we see some changes soon in Grenada.
Now, well, you know, it's one thing for us to sit here and talk, but I think the time has come to put our our money where our mouths is. We have money, but our brains where our mouths are.
Action.
Action.
Yeah.
CALISTRA, you're in?
Yes, yes, I'm in. We've been having for the last few months, we've been having discussions on what to do about MWAG, and there are several people on board. We have come to the conclusion that some action must be taken and that we would have to win back that which we lost. So there is a movement in train already, George, and
Okay,
of
good.
course, I'm really happy to talk to you about it. And what we've been able to mobilize both junior and senior members of the media, because what you find is that a lot of the new people who are coming into the media, a lot of the mistakes that they are making, a lot of the complaints that the public has, it's not because they have any malicious intent. It simply is because no one has taught them how to do the job.
Exactly.
Okay, a lot of them have come in through the government's Imani program and have not come in with an understanding of what it is to be a journalist, what the mandate is, what the rights are. And so we need to, MWAG has not been doing a lot. I remember as a young journalist, a lot of people who came before me exposed me, even before I went off to do any formal studying and training, exposed me to a lot of what I needed to know. I would not have been here today without Leslie Pay. The journalist I am today is not because of the formal training that I had. It is because of those first months which I spent at the feet of Leslie Pay. He really put the fire in me as to, what I need to be, and also taught me how to walk out of a room when people are trying to trample the journalists and waste their time and stuff like that. He taught me the value of a good walkout, which is why I walked out when the press secretary was making her statement a few weeks ago. I walked out in protest at the end of her first sentence. So we need to engage them, and they are ready and they are ripe for guidance and support. They are complaining constantly that MWAG is not serving them. And so there is a need, and the members see the need. And I think if we move on this and bring us back to where we were before, we would find that a lot of the young people may get to the point where they understand that they ought not to be intimidated. They don't need to be intimidated, and they can't be intimidated by politicians. I say we always have more airtime and more column inches than they do, and picking a fight with the media is always folly. Well, unless you have the media association fighting on your side, then.
Well, I think one of the encouraging things you said, CALISTRA, is that you already have identified people who would be beneficial to a new organization. I think that's a starting point. You got a base, if you will. So.
Oh yeah. We long recognized there was a problem and that we would have to act. I won't mention anybody else. I'm taking the licks for the moment, so let me take the licks. But we long recognize.
Hey, all of us here have taken licks. I have taken licks. Bev have taken licks. I'm sure Jerry has. That's why his head. That's the reason why his head is shaped the way it is.
Friday night.
Thanks a lot, guys. Let's all get together. I think, and we need to do that sooner rather than later. Appreciate it.
And CALISTRA, ensure that you pursue Mr. Garway to the fullest extent of the law, criminally and civilly.
Claudette, the $1 has been paid. You have been already.
Yes, you have been retained. Yes.
He needs to be taught a lesson.
True.
Let me
Yes. Both for me as a woman and as a journalist, and for the cause which I represent as a media person. Yeah, I find that women are supposed to take whatever comes to them at the hands of men, and they're going a little too far now. People kept suggesting online that I should have kicked him in his kahunas. Is that kahunas is what you say, or something like that.
Might have been dead.
CALISTRA, I'll tell you what. I looked at that picture, and with my martial arts training, I was thinking about 20 different ways that you could capsize this man.
You gotta take him down. Even without martial arts training, just with my Victoria brawling skills, I could have. Contrary to popular belief, I do know how to behave.
But I also want to thank.
George, 1 second, please. I was just saying, we didn't discuss it, but let us not keep this in isolation to what happened with what's the name from Montreal.
From
no. It is. I tell you, if you look at all of these things, there is a common thread through it. Montreal, what's the name of?
It's McQueen.
Roland McQueen. Yes, Roland McQueen. I mean, there's a common thread. As I said, this is systemic now.
Because the discussion with her ended up being about whether she should have been there or not.
Exactly.
And everybody seemed to forget that this man overreacted, and in the process of overreacting, hurt a woman. It all became, it was her fault if she was not there. It would happen, which is just the same as saying you looked for being raped because your skirt was just 2 inches too short.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
All right.
All right. Well, I have some drumettes that I need to put on the fire. There are little people here who are looking at the bad mother very soon, and some school clothes to hang up. So I still have laundry to hang, although it's Sunday, so I have to go now, George. Thank you for having me.
Calistra, there's a note here from somebody in Georgia, Anthony Arello. Anthony, hold on a minute, sure. Oh boy, she was saying something about go eat a food. She heard me say a little while ago I was hungry. So she's suggesting here that I go eat a food. You know, I'm certainly going to go have something to eat. But that connotation, the go eat the food, please.
It's not a good one these days.
Leave me out of that one. Thanks a lot, everybody. God bless you all.
All
and,
right.
We'll see you again.
George ain't going there.
I ain't going there, Jerry.
All right, everyone. Thank you very
Cheers,
much.
everybody.
Bye, Claudia.
Okay, bye-bye. Take care. All right.
Bye.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Quad Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who's supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
In our part of the world, we need to be prepared for natural disasters like storms and hurricanes, even outside of the season. I'm sure you'll agree that keeping our loved ones, homes, and businesses safe is important. So, I came up with a few quick tips to help you stay safe. First, make a family disaster plan and ensure that everyone in your household is familiar and comfortable with it. Remember to add batteries and flashlights to your emergency kit. Now for electrical safety. Familiarize yourself with your electrical panel, as it may be necessary to switch off the power during a storm or flood. Make sure you install a transfer or isolation switch to prevent your generator feeding electricity to GRENLEC's line. If trees are too close to power lines, call GRENLEC at 237 for advice. By following these easy steps, you will be well on your way to being hurricane ready. Don't be caught off guard by natural disasters. Prepare now. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Good morning, GRENLEC meter reader.
Morning, Mr. Meterman. I'm glad I caught you. Last month, I got a very high bill, and I don't understand why.
Last month, we were not able to access your meter, so we had to estimate the bill. This will happen if we don't get an actual reading.
So, what can I do to ensure that my meter is easily accessible?
Well, you can get your licensed electrician to move your meter outside of the gate or directly in front of the house. That way, I'll have easy access and I won't have to deal with your dog.
Ah, Butch.
Yes, dogs can be a problem sometimes. On one occasion, I was attacked by a dog and police had to get involved. Customers who don't want to cage or tie their dogs should really move their meter and make it easily accessible.
Well, I'll consider that.
Thank you.
GRENLEC, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks. Okie doke. Time now to pull the curtain down, and I'm going to do so with a parting word from the Holy Scriptures. Please bear with me. I'm reading this one off my smartphone this morning. And it comes from James 1, verses 2, 3, and 4. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." And on that note, my dear friends, a heartfelt thank you for joining us this morning. Really do appreciate it. Be sure to join us tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for the next edition of Good Day, Grenada. God bless you.